You arrive at Pinewood Station at 10 p.m., just as the last commuter train pulls away from the platform. The fluorescent lights inside hum their familiar tune. You unlock the door, and the bell above chimes, a sound you'll hear dozens of times before dawn. The station is yours now. Just you, the occasional traveler, and the rhythm of the night. You start with the ticket counter, wiping down the worn wooden surface that's seen decades of hands sliding money across it. The cleaning solution smells sharp and piney. Outside, wind pushes against the windows. The cloth makes soft squeaking sounds as you work in circular motions, revealing the grain of the wood beneath years of use. The first task is always counting the cash drawer. Bills whisper as you sort them. Tens with tens. 20s with 20s. The coins clink into their compartments. Quarters, dimes, nickels, pennies. Everything balances. You note it in the log, your pen scratching across the page. At 10:30, you brew the first pot of coffee. The machine gurgles and hisses, that familiar percolating sound that will become the soundtrack of your night. The aroma fills the small station. You pour yourself a cup in the chipped mug you always use and take your first sip. Still too hot. You set it down to cool. The waiting area needs attention. You move between the wooden benches, straightening newspapers left behind from the day shift. The pages rustle. Someone left a crossword half-finished. You fold it neatly and place it in the recycling bin. Your footsteps echo on the tile floor, a hollow, rhythmic sound in the empty space. You check the departures board, though you know the schedule by heart. The 11:47 to Central City. The 1:15 to Riverside. The 3:30 to Morton Falls. The 5:45 to anywhere but here. At 11 p.m., the first traveler arrives. A woman in a business suit, her heels clicking across the floor. She buys a ticket to Central City without much conversation. You feed her credit card through the machine. The beep, the whir of the receipt printer. She takes her ticket and sits on the far bench, her phone screen glowing in her face. You return to your tasks. The bathroom needs checking. You prop the door open with your foot and survey the space. Not too bad tonight. You mop the floor with careful, methodical strokes. The mop head sloshes in the bucket. Water drips. The astringent smell of disinfectant cuts through the air. You're meticulous about the corners where dirt likes to hide. Back at the counter, you organize the timetables, making sure they're fanned out perfectly for tomorrow's commuters. The paper is thick and glossy under your fingers. Everything in its place. The 11:47 arrives on time. You hear it before you see it, that distant rumble growing louder, the squeal of brakes, the hiss of the doors opening. The woman in the business suit disappears into the train. The doors close with a pneumatic sigh. The train pulls away, its sound gradually fading until there's only silence again. And you're alone. Midnight comes. You eat your sandwich at the counter, turkey and Swiss on wheat, the same thing you bring every shift. The bite of the bread sounds loud in the quiet station. You chew slowly, watching the parking lot through the window. A car passes on the distant highway, headlights sweeping across the darkness. You notice something odd. One of the overhead lights in the waiting area is flickering. Just barely. You watch it for a moment, the subtle, irregular pulse. It wasn't doing that yesterday. You make a note to mention it in the logbook. Probably just an old bulb. Everything here is old. At 12:30, you start on the windows. The glass cleaner sprays in short bursts. You wipe in long, vertical strokes, then horizontal ones. The paper towels bunch in your hand. Through the clean glass, you can see the empty platform, the tracks stretching into darkness, the woods beyond. Those woods have always made you slightly uneasy at night. During the day, they're just trees, oak and pine, normal forest. But at night, they're a wall of black, and sounds carry strangely through them. Sometimes you hear animals. Sometimes you hear things you can't quite identify. You push the thought away and keep cleaning. The station phone rings at 1 a.m. The sound is jarring, breaking the silence. You pick up on the third ring. Pinewood Station. It's dispatch. Just checking in. Everything normal? Any issues? All quiet here, you say. 11:47 left on time. The voice on the other end confirms and reminds you the 1:15 might be running a few minutes late. Track work upline. You thank them and hang up. The phone settles back in its cradle with a plastic click. You pour another cup of coffee. This pot is older now, stronger, slightly bitter. You add sugar from the glass dispenser, 1 spoonful, 2. The spoon clinks against the ceramic. You stir slowly, watching the liquid swirl. At 1:20, the next traveler arrives. A young man with a backpack and headphones. He doesn't acknowledge you, just points at the destination on his phone screen. You process his ticket. The machine beeps and whirs. He takes it without a word and sits on the nearest bench, eyes closed, head bobbing slightly to music you can't hear. The 1:15 arrives at 1:22. 7 minutes late, close enough to the estimate. The same sounds, the approach, the brakes, the doors. The young man boards without looking back. The train departs. Silence again. You decide to tackle the storage room. It's been neglected lately, and the night shift is when you can actually do these deeper tasks. You unlock the door. The key turns with a satisfying scrape of metal on metal, and pull the chain for the overhead bulb. It takes a moment to flicker on, casting harsh shadows across boxes of supplies and old equipment. You start sorting. Paper towels here. Cleaning supplies there. You find a box of old timetables from 3 years ago and set them aside for recycling. The cardboard is dusty, and particles float in the light. You sneeze. The sound seems too loud in the small space. That's when you hear it. A sound from outside. From the platform maybe, or near it. You freeze. Listening. Nothing. Just the wind, probably. Or an animal from the woods. You continue sorting, but you're listening now. Alert. Minutes pass. You stack boxes, making neat rows. The storage room is starting to look organized. You'll finish tomorrow night. You're reaching for another box when you hear it again. A scraping sound. Metal on concrete, maybe. Definitely from outside. You step out of the storage room and move to the window overlooking the platform. You cup your hands against the glass and peer out. The platform is empty. The tracks gleam dully under the security lights. Beyond them, the woods stand silent and dark. Nothing there. You shake your head and turn back to your work, but there's a prickle at the back of your neck now. You've worked this shift for 3 years, and you know every sound this station makes. That wasn't a familiar sound. At 2 a.m., you do your exterior check. It's protocol. Walk the platform, check the ticket machines outside, make sure everything's secure. You usually don't mind it, but tonight you hesitate with your hand on the door. You push through. The night air is cool and smells like pine and distant rain. Your breath makes small clouds. The door clicks shut behind you, and you're outside in the quiet. Your footsteps sound different out here, harder, more echoey on the concrete platform. You walk its length, checking the ticket kiosks. both functioning normally. Their screens glow blue in the darkness. You approach the edge of the platform and look down the tracks. They stretch in both directions, disappearing into the night. The rails pick up glints of light from the station behind you. A sound makes you turn, quick, instinctive. It came from near the end of the platform, where the ramp leads down to the parking lot. "Hello." Your voice sounds small. No answer. Of course, no answer. You walk toward the ramp, slowly. Your hand finds the flashlight on your belt, and you click it on. The beam cuts through the darkness, illuminating concrete, metal railings, scattered leaves. Nothing unusual. Just shadows and the ordinary debris of a train platform. You complete your circuit and return inside. The warmth of the station envelopes you. You lock the door behind you, something you don't usually do during your exterior checks. But tonight it feels right. The clock reads 2:15. Still hours until dawn. You return to the counter and update the logbook. Exterior check complete. All clear. Your handwriting looks shakier than usual. You decide to clean the coffee maker, a task that needs focus and keeps you occupied. You disassemble it carefully, washing each component in the small sink. The water runs hot over your hands. Soap suds. The smell of dish detergent mixing with coffee grounds. You scrub the carafe until it's spotless, rinse the filter basket, wipe down the heating plate. While you work, you catch movement in your peripheral vision. You look up quickly. Nothing. Just the window reflecting the interior of the station. You see yourself standing at the sink, a distorted figure in the dark glass. You're being ridiculous, you tell yourself. It's just a quiet night making you jumpy. You reassemble the coffee maker and start a fresh pot. The familiar sounds are comforting, the water filling, the gurgling, the hiss of steam. You watch the dark liquid drip into the carafe, drop by drop. At 2:45, you sit down behind the counter with your coffee. You pick up the station's copy of today's newspaper and try to read, but your eyes keep drifting to the windows, to the door, to the flickering light overhead that seems to be getting worse. You hear it again at 3 a.m. This time there's no mistaking it. Footsteps on the platform. Slow, deliberate footsteps. You stand up so fast your chair scrapes loudly against the floor. You move to the window. There's someone on the platform. A figure. Tall. Wearing what looks like a dark coat. Standing perfectly still near the far end, facing the tracks. Your heart hammers. No train is due until 3:30. How did they get there? You've been watching the door. No one came in. You grab the phone to call dispatch, but you keep your eyes on the figure. You press the numbers. The phone rings. And rings. No answer. That's strange. Dispatch always answers. You hang up. Try again. Still ringing. The figure on the platform hasn't moved. Just standing there, motionless. You make a decision. You grab your flashlight and keys and head for the door. Whatever this is, you need to address it. It's your job. Your station. The night air hits you again as you step outside. "Excuse me," you call out. "Sir." "Ma'am." The station waiting area is inside. The figure doesn't respond, doesn't turn, doesn't acknowledge you at all. You walk closer, your flashlight beam bouncing with each step. The next train isn't until 3:30. You're welcome to wait inside where it's warm. Still no response. You're about 20 feet away now. Close enough to see details. The coat is old-fashioned, you think. Long. The person is very still. "Sir." You're close enough now to reach out and touch them. You aim your flashlight directly at the figure. And it's not a person. It's a coat hanging on the old signpost. A coat that's been there so long it's stiff with weather and age, shaped by wind into something almost human. How did you not notice it before? Has it always been there? You laugh, a short, sharp sound of relief. Your heart is still pounding, but you're laughing. A coat. You were frightened by a coat. You reach out to touch it, and it's real. Solid. Fabric rough under your fingers. Just a coat someone left behind, probably years ago, that you somehow never noticed in 3 years of night shifts. You turn to head back inside. And that's when you see someone standing in the station window, looking out at you. Your breath catches. But then you realize, it's your own reflection. The angle, the light, it looked like someone else for a moment. You need to get it together. You return inside and lock the door behind you. You pour another coffee with shaking hands. The cup rattles slightly against the saucer. 3:15 a.m. 15 minutes until the next train. You try dispatch again. This time they answer on the first ring. Pinewood Station checking in, you say, trying to keep your voice steady. Everything normal? The dispatcher asks. Yeah, all normal. Just wanted to confirm the 3:30. On time, the dispatcher says. Should be there in 13 minutes. You thank them and hang up. The minutes crawl. You watch the clock. You wipe down the counter even though it doesn't need it. The cloth moves in slow circles. You're just tired. Night shift does this sometimes. Makes you see things, hear things. The mind plays tricks in the small hours. At 3:27, a car pulls into the parking lot. Headlights sweep across the windows. A moment later, an elderly man enters the station. The bell chimes. Evening, he says pleasantly. Train to Moreton Falls still running on time? Should be here in about 3 minutes, sir. Your voice sounds normal. Professional. Excellent. He sits down on a bench and opens a thermos, and the smell of hot chocolate drifts across the station. The normalcy of it, the ordinary traveller, the routine question, grounds you. You feel the tension leaving your shoulders. The 3:30 arrives precisely on time. The rumble, the squeal, the hiss. The elderly man boards with a wave. The train departs. The station is yours again. But something has shifted. You don't feel alone anymore. Not in a frightening way, just in an aware way. This station has stood here for 70 years. How many night shift workers before you? How many quiet hours? How many strange moments? How many unexplained sounds? You're part of a long tradition of people keeping watch through the darkness. At 4 a.m., you mop the floor. The mop swishes in long, rhythmic strokes. Water sloshes. You work your way from the back of the station toward the front, creating a clean path behind you. You refill the napkin dispensers at the small coffee station. The napkins make a soft, rustling sound as you stack them. You wipe down the surface, check the sugar packets. They're running low, so you refill those too. The paper packets whisper against each other as they settle into the container. The quiet is comfortable now. Expected. You've found your rhythm again. At 4:30, you take your break. You sit on one of the benches, not behind the counter, but where the passengers sit, and you just breathe. You look around at this place you've occupied for 3 years of nights. The scuffed floor. The old wooden benches. The departure board with its mechanical letters that flip with a clicking sound when they change. The windows that need cleaning again. The flickering light that you really should report. It's not much, this station. But it's yours to care for, and you do your job well. At 5 a.m., you start preparing for the day shift. You brew a fresh pot of coffee. This one will be for Morgan, who arrives at 6. You count the cash drawer again and update the logbook. You note the flickering light, the coat on the signpost outside that should probably be removed, the need for more sugar packets. Your handwriting is steady now. You sweep the platform one last time. The sky is just beginning to lighten in the east. Not quite dawn, but the promise of it. The darkness is thinning. The woods beyond the tracks are becoming visible. Just trees again, nothing more. The 5:45 arrives on schedule. 3 passengers board, early commuters heading to the city. You process their tickets with practiced efficiency. Beep, whir, receipt. They thank you. You wish them a good morning. The train pulls away just as the first real light breaks over the horizon. At 5:55, Morgan arrives. She's always early, always cheerful. Quiet night, she asks, hanging up her coat. Mostly, you say. 1:15 was a few minutes late. Flickering light in the waiting area. She nods, taking it in. This is the ritual, the passing of information, the transfer of responsibility. You gather your things. Your empty coffee mug. Your thermos. The book you never opened. See you tonight, Morgan says. See you tonight, you reply. You step out into the early morning. The air is fresh and cool. The parking lot is still mostly empty. Your car is right where you left it 10 hours ago. You drive home as the world wakes up around you. The sun rises. Traffic increases. People start their days as you end yours. You'll sleep through the morning and afternoon. And when night falls again, you'll return to Pinewood Station. You'll unlock the door to the sound of the chiming bell. You'll count the cash drawer and brew the first pot of coffee. You'll wipe down the counters and refill the sugar packets. You'll mop the floors and check the bathrooms. You'll process tickets and watch trains arrive and depart. You'll listen to the sounds of the station, the hum of lights, the gurgle of the coffee maker, the echo of footsteps, the distant rumble of approaching trains. You'll keep watch through the quiet hours when most of the world is sleeping. Because that's the job. That's the night shift at Pinewood Station. And someone has to do it. The station is never truly empty. Even when no trains run, even when no passengers wait, the building breathes. It settles and creaks. The heating system clicks on and off. The refrigerator in the break room hums its constant note. You've learned its rhythms. You know which floorboard squeaks near the bathroom. You know the coffee maker gurgles slightly louder just before the pot is ready. You know the front door sticks in humid weather and swings too freely when it's cold. You know all of this because you pay attention. Because during these quiet hours, there's nothing to do but notice. To be present, to hear the small sounds that get lost in the chaos of the day. Tonight, tomorrow night, the night after that, you'll be here, wiping counters, brewing coffee, watching the darkness, waiting for the trains that connect this small station to the wider world. This is your domain. These are your hours. And in the peaceful repetition of tasks, in the gentle rhythm of maintenance and care, you find something like meditation, something like purpose. The night shift at Pinewood Station. It's yours until dawn. The night shift at Pinewood Station, Part 2. You wake at 8 p.m. The sun set an hour ago, and the world outside your window is already dark. You shower, dress, make your sandwich, turkey and Swiss on wheat, the same as always. Routine is important. Routine keeps you grounded. By 9:30, You're in your car, driving the familiar roads to Pinewood Station. The headlights cut through the darkness. You pass the same landmarks you always pass: the old grain silo, the defunct gas station, the turnoff to Highway 7. Your hands know the steering wheel. Your foot knows when to brake. You arrive at 9:55. Morgan's car is still in the lot, right where it should be. You park beside it and gather your things: your thermos, your dinner bag, your keys. The station glows in the darkness like a small beacon. Through the windows, you can see Morgan moving behind the counter. She waves when she sees you. The bell chimes as you enter. "Evening," Morgan says brightly. She's wiping down the coffee station, exactly what she should be doing at this time. Quiet day. Fixed that flickering light. Removed that old coat from the signpost like you mentioned. "Thanks," you say, setting your things down. "Anything else I should know?" Nope. Cash drawers balanced. Restrooms are stocked. Fresh coffee's ready. She grabs her jacket from the hook. "Oh, dispatch called about an hour ago. Said there might be fog later tonight. Nothing to worry about, just a heads up." "Got it." Morgan heads for the door, then pauses. "You know, I've been thinking about last night, about what you wrote in the log. Did something happen?" You consider the question. The coat that looked like a person. The sounds you couldn't identify. The way the station felt different in those early morning hours. "Just a quiet night," you say finally. "You know how it gets." She nods, but there's something in her expression. Understanding, maybe. Like she's had her own strange nights here. "Well, see you tomorrow," she says. "See you tomorrow." The bell chimes as she leaves. Her car starts in the parking lot, headlights sweeping across the windows, and then she's gone. And the station is yours. You begin the familiar ritual. Count the cash drawer, bills sliding through your fingers, coins clinking into their compartments. Everything balances perfectly, as it always does under Morgan's watch. You note it in the logbook, your pen scratching across the page. 10:15 p.m. You pour your first coffee of the night. The liquid is hot and dark and bitter in just the right way. You add sugar, 1 spoonful, 2, and stir slowly. The spoon makes a gentle ringing sound against the ceramic. You walk the waiting area, checking that everything is in order. The benches are clean. The newspapers are stacked neatly. The departure board shows the night schedule: 11:47 to Central City, 1:15 to Riverside, 3:30 to Morton Falls, 5:45 to the city. The same schedule as always. Predictable. Reliable. You notice the overhead light Morgan mentioned. It's not flickering anymore. She replaced the bulb. The waiting area seems brighter somehow, more solid. You're grateful. At 10:30, you start on the windows. The glass cleaner sprays in short bursts. You wipe in long strokes, vertical then horizontal, until the glass is perfectly clear. Through it, you can see the empty platform, the tracks, the dark woods beyond. No coat hanging on the signpost anymore. Morgan took care of it. The woods look different tonight. There's a faint mist gathering at their edge. The fog dispatch mentioned, probably. It hasn't reached the station yet, but it's coming. You can see it drifting between the trees like slow breath. You finish the windows and move on to the bathroom. Prop the door open, survey the space, begin mopping with methodical strokes. The water sloshes in the bucket. The disinfectant smell is sharp and clean. You work carefully, making sure every corner is perfect. When you emerge, you check the clock. 11:05. 42 minutes until the first train. You organize the timetables behind the counter, fanning them out just so. You refill the sugar packets at the coffee station. They were getting low again. You wipe down the counters even though they're already clean. Small tasks. Necessary tasks. The rhythm of the night shift. At 11:30, the first traveler arrives. A middle-aged man in a heavy jacket, stamping his feet against the cold. He nods at you and approaches the counter. "One to Central City, please." You process his ticket. Beep, whir, receipt. He takes it with a muttered thanks and sits down on the nearest bench, pulling out his phone. You return to your coffee. It's cooled to the perfect temperature now. You sip it slowly, watching the man on the bench, watching the clock, watching the fog outside that's creeping closer. The 11:47 arrives exactly on time. You hear it first, that distant rumble building, the warning bell at the crossing a quarter-mile up the track, the squeal of brakes. The man stands, pockets his phone, heads for the door. You watch through the window as he boards. The doors close with their pneumatic hiss. The train pulls away, lights receding into the darkness until there's nothing but the red glow of the rear signal, and then not even that. Silence settles back over the station, and the fog rolls in. It comes quickly, much faster than you expected. One moment the parking lot is visible, the next it's obscured by thick white mist. It presses against the windows like something alive. Within minutes, you can barely see 3 feet beyond the glass. You've worked through fog before. It's not unusual for this time of year. But something about tonight's fog feels different. Heavier. More present. You check the phone line. Still working. You try dispatch. Pinewood Station checking in. The dispatcher's voice is clear. All trains running on schedule despite the fog. Visibility might slow things down a bit, but nothing concerning. Do you need anything? No, just checking in. You hang up and stare out at the white void beyond the windows. At midnight, you eat your sandwich at the counter. Turkey and Swiss on wheat. Each bite seems louder than usual in the muffled quiet. The fog has absorbed all the normal night sounds. No cars on the distant highway, no wind in the trees, nothing but silence and the hum of the station's fluorescent lights. You finish eating and throw away the wrapper. The trash can lid closes with a soft thud. You decide to do inventory in the storage room, a task that will keep you busy and your mind occupied. You unlock the door and pull the chain for the overhead bulb. It flickers on, casting harsh light across the organized boxes from last night's work. You begin counting supplies. Paper towels, 3 cases. Toilet paper, 4 cases. Cleaning solution, 6 bottles. You note everything in your inventory sheet, your pen scratching against paper. That's when you hear it. A train whistle. But not from the tracks. From somewhere in the fog. Distant. Mournful. And wrong somehow. The pitch is off, or the timing, or something you can't quite identify. You step out of the storage room and move to the window. The fog is so thick now you can't even see the platform edge. The whistle sounds again, closer this time, but still not from the right direction. You check the schedule. The 1:15 isn't due for over an hour. No trains should be passing through. You try to tell yourself it's sound carrying strangely through the fog. That happens. Fog distorts everything. Distance, direction, clarity. But your hand finds the phone anyway. You dial dispatch. Pinewood Station. I'm hearing a train whistle, but nothing's scheduled. Can you confirm all trains are where they should be? A pause. The sound of keys clicking. Then, all trains accounted for. The 1:15 is 40 minutes out. Nothing else in your area. Copy that. Thanks. You hang up slowly. All trains accounted for. So what did you hear? The whistle sounds again. Definitely closer. And now you can hear something else beneath it. The rhythmic chug of an approaching locomotive, the clack of wheels on rails. But you can't see anything. Just fog pressing against the windows. You grab your flashlight and keys. You don't want to go outside, but you need to see the platform, need to confirm that nothing is there. The fog envelopes you the moment you step through the door. It's cold and damp, clinging to your skin, your clothes, your hair. Your flashlight beam barely penetrates it, just a weak glow illuminating swirling white mist. You walk to the edge of the platform carefully, listening. The train sounds have stopped. Everything is silent except for your own breathing, your own footsteps. You aim your flashlight down at the tracks. They're there, solid and real, gleaming faintly in the light. Empty. No train. You sweep the flashlight beam along the platform. Nothing. Just fog and emptiness. You're about to turn back when your light catches something. A shape at the far end of the platform. Tall. Human-shaped. Your breath catches. Hello. Your voice sounds muffled in the fog. Station's inside if you need to wait. The shape doesn't move. Doesn't respond. You walk toward it slowly, your flashlight beam bouncing with each step. As you get closer, details emerge. It's a person. You're sure of it this time. A man in an old conductor's uniform, standing perfectly still, facing the tracks. Sir, you're 10 feet away now. Sir, can I help you? He doesn't acknowledge you. Doesn't turn. Doesn't move at all. 5 feet away. Sir, I'm going to ask you to. You reach out to tap his shoulder, and your hand passes through mist. There's no one there. You stumble backward, your flashlight beam cutting wild arcs through the fog. Your heart is hammering so hard you can hear it in your ears. Just the fog. Just the fog playing tricks. Shapes in the mist that look like people. It happens. You back toward the station entrance, keeping your flashlight aimed at where the figure was, where you thought the figure was. The fog swirls and eddies, creating new shapes, new shadows, nothing solid. You reach the door and practically fall through it. The bell chimes loudly. You lock the door behind you with shaking hands. Inside, the station is warm and bright and real. The clock reads 12:45. 30 minutes until the next train. You pour another coffee, but you don't drink it. You just hold the warm cup, grounding yourself with its heat and weight. You're being ridiculous again. First the coat last night, now fog tonight. The night shift is making you paranoid. But you can't shake the image of that figure. How real it looked. How detailed. You could have sworn you saw brass buttons on the uniform, a cap, even a watch chain. You check the station's history book that Morgan keeps behind the counter, a leather-bound volume filled with newspaper clippings and photographs from Pinewood Station's 70 years of operation. You've flipped through it before, but you've never really studied it. You page through carefully. Pictures of the station's opening in 1955. Newspaper articles about record ridership in the 1960s. A clipping about the station surviving a bad storm in 1978. Photos of various station masters and workers over the decades. You're about to close the book when a photograph catches your eye. It's dated 1962. Station staff, Pinewood Station, reads the caption. 6 people standing in front of the building. 3 men, 3 women, all in uniform. The man on the far left is wearing a conductor's uniform. Brass buttons. A cap. A watch chain. He's standing exactly where you saw the figure in the fog. You stare at the photograph. Your hands aren't shaking anymore. They're perfectly still, frozen in place. The resemblance is uncanny. The stance. The uniform. Everything. You flip the page, looking for more information. There's a small obituary from 1963. Station conductor Thomas Mills, 1910 to 1963, died in service at Pinewood Station, devoted to his work and beloved by commuters. He will be missed. Died in service. Here, at this station. The phone rings. You jump so violently you nearly drop the book. The phone rings again. You force yourself to pick it up on the third ring. Pinewood Station. It's dispatch. Just calling to let you know the 1:15 will be on time despite the fog. The engineer has experience with these conditions. No concerns. Thanks. You manage. Your voice sounds almost normal. You hang up. The clock reads 1:05. 10 minutes until the train. You close the history book carefully and put it back where you found it. You don't know what you saw outside. Maybe nothing. Maybe fog and shadows and an overactive imagination primed by an old photograph. Maybe something else. At 1:12, a car pulls into the parking lot. You can barely see its headlights through the fog, just a faint glow that moves and then stops. A minute later, the bell chimes. It's a young woman with a backpack, water droplets clinging to her jacket from the fog. She approaches the counter, and you're so relieved to see another real person that you smile more warmly than you usually do. 1 to Riverside, please. You process her ticket. The familiar sounds, beep, whir, receipt, are incredibly comforting. She sits down on a bench and pulls out a book. Normal. Everything is normal. The 1:15 arrives at exactly 1:15. You hear it first, the rumble, the bell, the brakes. The young woman stands and boards. The train's lights glow faintly in the fog, diffused and dreamlike. The doors close. The train departs, swallowed almost immediately by the white mist. Silence again. You move to the window and look out. The fog is starting to thin slightly. You can make out the edge of the platform now, the first few feet of the tracks. No conductor in an old uniform. No shapes in the mist. Just fog slowly dissipating. At 1:30, you go outside to do your check. The air is still damp, but not as oppressive. The fog is definitely lifting, retreating back toward the woods. You walk the platform length, checking everything. The ticket kiosks are functioning. The benches are clear. The trash bins need emptying. You make a note to do that later. You approach the spot where you saw the figure. Nothing there. Just concrete and the faint sheen of moisture from the fog. But there's something else. Something you almost miss in the dim light. A brass button on the ground. Old, tarnished, with an embossed design you can't quite make out in the flashlight beam. You pick it up. It's heavy, real, solid in your palm. The kind of button that would be on a conductor's uniform. From the 1960s, maybe. You pocket it without really thinking about why. The rest of your exterior check is uneventful. Everything is as it should be. You return inside, lock the door, and empty the brass button onto the counter. In the better light, you can see the embossed design clearly. It's a train, and around it, tiny letters, Pinewood Station, 1955. You should put this in the lost and found, or in the history book, or mention it to Morgan. Instead, you put it back in your pocket. At 2 a.m., you brew fresh coffee. The machine gurgles and hisses, familiar sounds that help settle your nerves. You clean the old pot, wash it thoroughly, dry it carefully. The routine is soothing. You mop the floor, long, methodical strokes from back to front. The mop swishes. Water sloshes. You're careful about the corners. The fog is almost gone now. Through the windows, you can see the parking lot again, the edge of the woods, the stars emerging overhead. You refill the napkin dispensers, restock the sugar packets, wipe down every surface. You're being more thorough than usual, but it feels necessary. Like you're reclaiming the space, making it yours again, pushing back against whatever strange presence filled it earlier. At 2:30, you sit down with your fresh coffee and the newspaper. You actually read it this time. Local news, a story about the town council meeting, a feature on the high school basketball team. Normal things. Grounding things. The station phone rings at 3 a.m. It's dispatch, just the regular check-in. Everything normal on your end? The 3:30 on schedule? All normal, you say. And it's true. The station feels normal again. Whatever was happening earlier has passed. The 3:30 is on schedule. Dispatch confirms. Should arrive in 28 minutes. You hang up and finish your coffee. The night is more than half over. In a few hours, the sky will start to lighten. Morgan will arrive. You'll hand over the station and go home. But you have hours yet. At 3:15, two travelers arrive together. A couple, both elderly, both bundled in heavy coats. They buy tickets to Morton Falls, chatting with each other in low voices about visiting their daughter. You process their tickets, wish them a good trip. They sit together on a bench, the woman's head leaning on the man's shoulder. It's sweet, gentle, a reminder that this station exists to connect people, to bring them to the ones they love. The 3:30 arrives precisely on time. The couple boards slowly, helping each other up the steps. Through the window, you watch them find seats, watch the train pull away. The station is yours again. You decide to tackle the storage room completely, finish the organization you started last night. You work steadily, creating order from chaos. Every box in its place. Every supply counted and categorized. The physical work feels good, and the storage room is small enough that you can see the results of your labor immediately. By 4:15, the storage room is perfect. You step back and admire your work. The shelves are organized by category and frequency of use. The floor is clear. Everything is labeled. You're closing the storage room door when you hear footsteps on the platform. Your body tenses immediately. The 5:45 is more than an hour away. No one should be out there. You move to the window and look out. There's a man on the platform. But not the conductor from earlier. This is just a regular traveler, alive and solid and real. He's pacing back and forth, checking his watch repeatedly. You step outside. "Sir, the station's inside. Can I help you with something?" He looks up, startled. "Oh, sorry. I'm early for the 5:45. I couldn't sleep, so I just drove over. Didn't mean to worry you." You relax. "No problem. Come on inside where it's warm." He follows you in, apologizing again for being so early. You make small talk while he settles on a bench, something about insomnia, about early morning drives, about needing to be in the city by 7 a.m. Normal. Everything is normal. You brew another pot of coffee and offer him a cup. He accepts gratefully. You sit behind the counter, and he sits on his bench, and the two of you share the quiet hours in comfortable silence. At 5 a.m., you start preparing for the day shift. Count the cash drawer one final time. Update the logbook. Note the reorganized storage room, the brass button you found, which you decide to mention after all, the fog that came and went. Your handwriting is steady. The early traveler dozes on his bench, his empty coffee cup beside him. You let him sleep. The station is peaceful. At 5:30, another car arrives. Then another. The early commuters are starting to trickle in. You process tickets, answer questions, maintain the gentle efficiency that is your hallmark. The 5:45 arrives on schedule. 5 passengers board, including the man who couldn't sleep. He waves his thanks as he climbs aboard. The train pulls away just as the first light appears on the horizon. At 5:55, Morgan arrives. She's early, as always, already smiling. "How was the night?" she asks. You consider the question. The fog. The figure that might have been. The brass button in your pocket. The quiet hours of routine tasks and small kindnesses. Foggy, you say finally. But good. Storage rooms organized. I saw that mentioned in the log. Thanks. She hangs up her coat. Oh, and what's this about a brass button? You pull it out and show her. She examines it carefully, turning it over in the light. 1955, she reads. That's from the station's opening year. Where'd you find it? On the platform. During my exterior check. She nods slowly, still looking at the button. You know, my grandmother worked here in the 60s. She used to tell me stories. Said the place had a presence. Not scary, just watchful. Like it remembered everyone who'd worked here, everyone who'd passed through. You don't know what to say to that. I'll put this in the history book, Morgan says, handing it back. Or you should. You found it. You take the button. Its weight feels significant in your palm. See you tonight, Morgan says. See you tonight. You step out into the early morning. The fog is completely gone. The air is crisp and clear. The sky is brightening moment by moment, pink and orange spreading across the horizon. You drive home, and you think about conductors in brass-buttoned uniforms, about stations that remember, about the countless people who've stood on that platform waiting for trains, about the workers who've maintained the space through decades of service. You think about routine and ritual, about the small tasks that keep a station running, about the quiet hours when you're alone with only the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant sound of trains. You'll sleep through the day, and when night falls, you'll return. You'll unlock the door to the chiming bell. You'll count the cash drawer and brew the first pot of coffee. You'll wipe the counters and refill the sugar packets. You'll maintain this small station, this point of connection, this threshold between places. And maybe, if the fog rolls in again, if shadows take shapes in the mist, you won't be quite so frightened, because the night shift at Pinewood Station is yours, and you're not alone in keeping watch. The Night Shift at Pinewood Station, Part 3. You wake at 8 p.m. to the sound of rain against your window. Heavy, steady rain that's been falling for hours by the sound of it. You lie in bed for a moment, listening to the rhythm of it, knowing what it means for tonight's shift. Rain means wet floors, means travelers tracking in mud and water, means the platform will need extra attention, the mats inside the door will need changing multiple times, the bathroom will be a mess. But rain also means something else. It means the station will feel different. Sound will be muffled. The world outside will be reduced to what you can see through rain-streaked windows. The isolation will be more complete. You shower and dress. Make your sandwich, turkey and Swiss on wheat. Check the weather on your phone. Rain expected through the night, possibly heavy at times, tapering off around dawn. You're in your car by 9:30. The windshield wipers beat a steady rhythm as you drive the familiar route. The rain is coming down hard now, making the road slick and black. You pass the grain silo, the defunct gas station, the turnoff to Highway 7, all reduced to shapes and lights in the downpour. You arrive at 9:55. Morgan's car is in its usual spot, and you park beside it. The rain drums on your roof. You gather your things and make a run for the entrance. The bell chimes as you burst through the door, water dripping from your jacket. "Wet one tonight," Morgan says from behind the counter. She's already mopping up the puddle from her own entrance. "Been raining since about 4. Platform's slick. I put out the caution signs." You shake off your jacket and hang it on the hook. "Anything else?" "Cleaned the bathrooms twice already. Changed the entrance mats once. Oh, and dispatch called. They're monitoring the weather. If it gets worse, they might delay some trains, but right now everything's running on schedule." You nod, taking it in. Morgan grabs her coat. Cash drawers balanced. Fresh coffee's ready. "Good luck with the wet." "Thanks. Drive careful." "Always do." She pulls her hood up and heads for the door. The bell chimes. Through the window, you watch her make a dash for her car, then her taillights disappear into the rain. And the station is yours. The sound is different immediately. The rain creates a constant white noise, not quite silence, but a barrier against it. It drums on the roof, pounds against the windows, gurgles through the downspouts. The station feels smaller somehow, more enclosed, like it's the only dry place in a drowned world. You begin your ritual. Count the cash drawer, bills sliding, coins clinking. Note it in the logbook. Your pen scratches across the page, and you add a note about the weather. 10:15 p.m. You pour your first coffee. The aroma mixes with the smell of rain coming through the small gap under the door. You add sugar, 1 spoonful, 2, and stir. The spoon rings against ceramic. You walk the waiting area. Water has already started to pool near the entrance, despite the mats Morgan put down. You grab the mop and take care of it, creating a drier perimeter. The mop sloshes. Water drips back into the bucket. You check the platform through the window. Rain is sheeting across it in wind-blown waves. The caution signs Morgan mentioned are in place, their yellow surfaces already slick with water. Beyond the platform, the tracks are barely visible through the downpour. At 10:30, you replace the entrance mats with fresh ones. The wet mats go in the utility closet to dry. You wring them out over the sink. Water streams down, swirling into the drain. The first traveller arrives at 10:45. A man in a rain slicker, water streaming off him. He stamps his feet on the mat, but it's already soaked through. You make a mental note to change it again soon. "Ticket to Central City, please." He's nearly shouting over the rain. You process his ticket. Beep, whir, receipt. He takes it and sits on the farthest bench, creating a small puddle beneath him. At 11 p.m., you check the bathroom. As expected, it's a mess. Wet footprints everywhere, water on the floor, dampness in the air. You mop carefully, making sure to get every corner. The disinfectant smell cuts through the humid air. When you emerge, 2 more travelers have arrived. A woman with a broken umbrella and a teenage boy with no rain gear at all, both soaked to the skin. You process their tickets efficiently, and they join the first traveller in the waiting area. The station is starting to smell like wet clothes and rain. The 11:47 arrives 5 minutes late. Through the rain-blurred windows, You see its lights approaching, wavering and indistinct. The three travelers board quickly, hunching against the weather. The doors close. The train pulls away, swallowed by the storm. You're alone again. You change the entrance mats for the second time, mop up the new puddles, wipe down the benches where the travelers sat. Everything is damp. The air itself feels wet. At midnight, you eat your sandwich at the counter. Turkey and Swiss on wheat. You eat slowly, listening to the rain. It hasn't let up at all. If anything, it's gotten heavier. Thunder rumbles in the distance, low and prolonged. The phone rings at 12:15. It's dispatch. Pinewood Station. Just checking in. How's the weather there? Heavy rain. Platforms wet but manageable. Good. Be advised we're seeing some lightning to the west. If it gets close, you know the protocol. You do know. If lightning gets within a certain distance, you're supposed to stay inside, keep travelers inside, and be prepared to delay boarding if necessary. Understood. I'll keep watch. You hang up and move to the window. The sky flashes in the distance. Once, twice. You count the seconds until the thunder. Still far away, but moving closer. At 12:30, you decide to get ahead of the wet floor situation. You mop the entire waiting area, then the hallway to the bathroom, then the bathroom itself. The work is meditative, the swish of the mop, the slosh of water, the squeak of the mop head ringing out. You create a clean, dry space, knowing it will last only until the next travelers arrive. But that's the job. You do it anyway. The lightning is getting closer. The sky lights up brighter now, and the thunder follows sooner. You count 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds. The storm is moving in fast. At 12:45, the lights flicker. Just once, just for a moment. But your heart skips. You know what that means. You go to the breaker box in the storage room and check it. Everything looks normal. You find the flashlights in their designated spot and bring them to the counter, just in case. You make sure your phone is charged. You locate the emergency candles and matches. Preparation. Always be prepared. The phone rings again at 1 a.m. Dispatch. With an update. 1:15 might be delayed. We're holding it at Central City until the lightning passes. Don't want the train sitting at your platform in the middle of this. Copy that. How long a delay? Hard to say. Could be 15 minutes. Could be an hour. We'll keep you posted. You hang up and update the departure board. The mechanical letters flip with their clicking sound. Delayed. At 1:10, a car pulls into the parking lot. Through the rain-streaked window, you watch someone make a dash for the entrance. The bell chimes. A young woman bursts through, absolutely drenched, her hair plastered to her head. She's laughing. "Oh my God," she says, breathless. "I've never seen rain like this." You can't help but smile. Her energy is infectious. Ticket to Riverside? How'd you know? Only trains scheduled around this time. Though it might be delayed, there's lightning. Oh, I don't mind waiting. It's dry in here. She wrings out her hair, and water patters on the mat. Sorry about the mess. Don't worry about it. There's fresh coffee if you want some. You're a lifesaver. She gets her coffee and settles on a bench. She pulls out her phone but then seems to think better of it and just sits, watching the rain through the window, sipping her coffee. The lights flicker again. Longer this time. Your hand moves instinctively to the flashlight on the counter. "Does that happen a lot?" she asks. "Sometimes, in weather like this. We have backup power for essentials, but it's better if we don't need it. Thunder crashes, loud and close. She jumps slightly, then laughs again. Wow! Mother Nature's putting on a show. At 1:25, dispatch calls back. The 1:15 will be delayed until at least 2 a.m. The lightning needs to clear the area first. Can you inform any waiting passengers? You relay the message to the young woman. She shrugs. I've got nowhere to be until morning anyway. Mind if I just hang out? That's what the station's for. She settles back into her bench, and you return to your tasks. You change the entrance mats again, the third time tonight. You wipe down the counters. You refill the sugar packets at the coffee station. The storm is directly overhead now. Lightning flashes so bright it turns the windows white. Thunder follows immediately, shaking the building. The rain is torrential, pounding against the roof like drumbeats. And then the lights go out. Complete darkness for 3 seconds. You hear the young woman gasp. Then the emergency lights kick in, dim, yellowish, casting long shadows. Well, she says, that's atmospheric. You grab a flashlight and check the breaker box. The main power is out, but the emergency systems are functioning. The coffee maker is dead, the ticket machine is dead, but the emergency lights will last for hours. You call dispatch. Pinewood Station. We've lost main power. Emergency systems are up. No injuries, 1 passenger waiting. Dispatch confirms they're aware of the outage. It's affecting a wider area. Power company is working on it, but no ETA for restoration. The 1:15 is still delayed. They'll update you when they have more information. You hang up and return to the waiting area. The young woman is standing now, looking out at the storm through the window. The emergency lights behind her cast her in silhouette. I've never been in a train station during a blackout, she says. It's kind of beautiful, in a way. Everything reduced to essentials. She's right. With only the emergency lights, the station looks different. Older, somehow. The shadows are deeper. The corners are darker. It could be any era, 1955, 1975, 2025. You light 2 of the candles and place them on the counter. The warm glow helps, adding a softer light to the harsh emergency bulbs. There, you say. Better. Much better. You both stand at the window, watching the storm. Lightning illuminates the platform in stark flashes. Rain cascades off the roof in sheets. The world beyond the station has disappeared entirely. Just rain and darkness and the occasional lightning-lit glimpse of the platform. Do you ever get scared? She asks suddenly. Working here alone at night? You consider the question. The coat that looked like a figure. The conductor in the fog. The sounds you can't explain. Sometimes, you say honestly, but mostly it's just quiet. Peaceful, even. I think I'd be terrified. She sips her coffee. But then again, you're probably used to it. How long have you worked here? 3 years. 3 years of night shifts. That's dedication. Or insanity, you say, and she laughs. Thunder crashes again. The building shudders. And then you hear it, a sound that doesn't belong. Not thunder, not rain. A creaking sound, like wood under stress. You both freeze, listening. There it is again. Definitely coming from somewhere in the station. Maybe the storage room or the bathroom hallway. What was that? The young woman whispers. Old building settling in the storm, you say, trying to sound confident. Happens sometimes. but you grab your flashlight and move toward the sound. The young woman follows close behind. Apparently she'd rather face unknown creaking noises than be left alone in the candlelit waiting area. You walk down the hallway toward the bathroom, your flashlight beam cutting through the dim emergency lighting. The creaking continues, rhythmic, almost, like something swaying. You reach the bathroom door. It's slightly ajar, moving back and forth in a draft you can't feel. That's what's creaking, the hinges. You push it open fully. The bathroom is empty. Just your mop and bucket, the sink, the stalls. The window above the sink is closed tight. See, you say. Just the door. But the young woman is looking past you, into the bathroom. Why is it swinging if there's no wind? That's a good question. The window is closed. The ventilation system is off with the power. There shouldn't be a draft. You prop the door open with the doorstop and return to the waiting area. The young woman stays close. Old buildings are weird, you say. Old buildings are haunted, she corrects, but she's smiling. You check the time. 1:55. The storm shows no sign of letting up. You call dispatch for an update. The 1:15 is going to be significantly delayed, at least another hour. The storm is worse to the west, and they're not risking the train until it passes. They'll keep you posted. You relay this to the young woman. She nods. I'm in no rush. Besides, this is kind of an adventure. At 2 a.m., you hear footsteps on the platform. Both of you turn to the window. Through the rain, you can just make out a figure standing on the platform, tall, still, facing the tracks. Your stomach drops. Not again. Is someone out there? The young woman asks. Stay here. You grab your flashlight and rain slicker. Are you crazy? You're going out in that. It's my job. You push through the door into the storm. The rain hits you like a physical force, cold and hard. Your flashlight beam is almost useless, swallowed by the downpour. Hello, you shout. Sir, ma'am, you need to come inside. The figure doesn't move. You walk closer, water already soaking through your slicker. It's not safe out here. Please come inside. You're close now. Close enough to see details in the flashlight beam. It's a man, you think. Tall. Wearing something dark. You reach out. Your hand touches fabric. Wet fabric. Solid. The figure turns. It's just a man. A real, living, soaking wet man who looks just as startled to see you as you are to see him. Jesus! He shouts over the rain. You scared me. What are you doing out here? You have to yell to be heard. My car broke down up the road. I walked here. The door was locked. The door was locked. But you didn't lock it. You turn. From this angle, you can see the station entrance. The door is closed. Come on. You grab his arm and pull him toward the entrance. You try the handle. Locked. You pound on the door. Through the window, you see the young woman jump up from her bench and run to the door. She tries to open it, but it won't budge. It's locked, she shouts through the glass. I didn't lock it, you shout back. The three of you stare at each other through the rain-streaked glass. This doesn't make sense. The door doesn't have an automatic lock. Someone would have had to lock it manually. But there's no one else in the station. You pull out your keys with shaking, wet hands. Find the right key. Try to fit it in the lock. It won't go in. You try again. The key doesn't fit. It's the right key. You've used it hundreds of times, but it won't go in the lock. Lightning flashes. Thunder crashes. The rain pounds down. "Try the back entrance," the man yells. There is no back entrance. But you run around the building anyway, the man following. You check every window, every door. Everything is locked tight. You come back around to the front. The young woman is still at the door, looking terrified now. You pound on the window. "Call dispatch. Tell them we're locked out." She nods and runs to the phone. You try your key again. Still won't fit. It's like the lock has changed, or the key has changed, or something fundamental about reality has shifted. The man is shivering beside you, soaked to the bone. What's happening? I don't know. Through the window, you see the young woman at the phone. She's talking animatedly, gesturing. Then she hangs up and runs back to the door. "They're sending someone," she shouts through the glass. "But it might be an hour in this weather." An hour. You and this stranger, locked out of your own station, standing in a torrential downpour for an hour. The man slumps against the wall. This is insane. You try the key one more time. It slides in smoothly. You freeze. A moment ago it wouldn't fit. Now it does. You turn the key. The lock clicks. The door swings open. "What the hell?" the man whispers. You both stumble inside. The young woman slams the door behind you. For a moment, the three of you just stand there, dripping puddles onto the floor, breathing hard. "The key wouldn't fit," you say finally. "And then it would." "The door was locked," the young woman says. "I saw you try it. But I didn't lock it. I was sitting right here the whole time. None of you have an explanation." The man is shivering badly now. You grab towels from the bathroom, the one with the swinging door, and give them to him. He dries off as best he can. "Thank you," he says. "I thought I was going to die out there." "What happened to your car?" "Just died. Right on the highway. I tried to call for help, but my phone's dead. I saw the station lights and walked here." He pauses. "When I got here, the door was locked. I was pounding on it for 5 minutes before you came out. But you didn't hear any pounding. Neither did the young woman. You call dispatch back and explain the situation, the stranded motorist, the strange door locking, all of it. They're confused but understanding. They'll send someone to help with the car once the storm clears. In the meantime, he can wait at the station. You hang up and look at your two unexpected companions. The young woman with her coffee, waiting for a delayed train. The man wrapped in a towel, grateful to be out of the rain. "Well," you say, "welcome to Pinewood Station." The storm continues to rage outside. The candles flicker on the counter. The emergency lights cast their yellow glow. And the three of you wait together, united by circumstances you don't fully understand, in a station that sometimes seems to have a mind of its own. The man tells his story. He's a salesman, driving home from a conference. His car just quit without warning. The young woman tells hers. She's a grad student, heading home after visiting her sister, in no particular hurry. They ask about you, and you tell them what you can. 3 years on the night shift. The routine of it. The peace of it. The occasional strangeness of it. "Like doors that lock themselves?" the young woman asks. "Like doors that lock themselves." You agree. At 2:45, the power comes back on. The lights flicker, then blaze bright. The ticket machine beeps back to life. The coffee maker starts gurgling. The sudden brightness is almost shocking after so long in the dimness. "Well, that's good timing," the man says. You brew fresh coffee for all three of you. It feels important somehow, this small act of hospitality. You're in this together now. The three of you and the storm and the station with its mysteries. Dispatch calls at 3 a.m. The 1:15 will arrive in approximately 30 minutes. The storm is finally starting to clear. You relay the information to the young woman. She seems almost disappointed. I was just getting used to the adventure. The man's phone suddenly comes to life, buzzing and chiming with missed messages. He steps away to make calls, to the tow service, to his wife, to his boss. You and the young woman stand at the counter, sipping coffee, watching the rain begin to ease. "Do you believe in ghosts?" she asks quietly. You think about conductors in brass-buttoned uniforms, about doors that lock themselves, about a station that remembers. "I believe in mysteries," you say. "Things I can't explain." She nods slowly. "Me too. Especially now." The man returns, his phone calls complete. "Tow truck will be here around 5. Is it okay if I wait?" "Of course." The three of you settle into a comfortable silence, each processing the strange events of the night in your own way. At 3:28, headlights appear through the rain. The 1:15, finally arriving. The young woman stands, gathering her things. At the door, she pauses and looks back at you. "Thank you," she says, "for everything. This was the weirdest night, but you made it okay. Safe travels," you say. She runs through the rain, lighter now, more manageable, and boards the train. Through the window, you watch her find a seat. She waves. The train pulls away into the thinning storm. The man stays, waiting for his tow truck. He dozes on a bench while you return to your routine. Mop the puddles. Change the mats one more time. Wipe down the counters. The rain becomes a drizzle. The lightning moves off to the east. The thunder fades to distant rumbles. At 4:30, you check the doors. All of them. Testing each lock with your key. They all work perfectly now. Smooth and easy. What happened earlier? You may never know. The tow truck arrives at 5:15. The man shakes your hand gratefully before heading out into the pre-dawn darkness. And then you're alone. The station is quiet except for the drip of water from the eaves, the gurgle of the coffee maker, the hum of the fluorescent lights. You start preparing for the day shift. Count the cash drawer. Update the logbook. You pause over the entry for tonight. How do you describe what happened? The door that locked itself? The key that wouldn't fit until it would? In the end, you write, severe weather. Power outage 1:17 a.m. to 2:45 a.m. Emergency systems functioned properly. Assisted stranded motorist. All trains significantly delayed but resumed normal schedule by 3:30 a.m. Simple. Professional. True, if not complete. Morgan arrives at 5:55, shaking rain from her umbrella. "Rough night?" she asks, seeing your expression. You could say that. You tell her about the storm, the power outage, the motorist. You don't mention the locked door. Not yet. Maybe not ever. She nods sympathetically. Storms make everything harder. You did good. Thanks. Oh, before I forget. She pulls something from her pocket. Found this in the history book. Thought you might want it. It's the brass button you found the night before. But now it's attached to a small card with handwritten text. Conductor Thomas Mills, 1955 to 1963. Found on platform, January 2026. You take it carefully. The button gleams in your palm. I thought about what I said yesterday. Morgan continues. About the station having a presence. My grandmother used to say the station takes care of its own. Maybe that's what happened with your door last night. Maybe the station was protecting you. You look at her sharply. I didn't mention the door. She smiles mysteriously. Didn't you? Must have misheard. Anyway, see you tonight. She turns to her opening tasks, and you're left holding the button, wondering. You step outside. The rain has stopped completely. The sky is lightening in the east. Puddles reflect the pale dawn light. You walk to your car and sit behind the wheel, but you don't start the engine yet. You just sit, holding the brass button, looking at the station. 70 years old. How many strange nights has it seen? How many unexplained events? How many workers have stood where you stand, wondering what's real and what's not? You put the button in your pocket. You'll keep it there. A reminder, a talisman, a connection to the long history of this place. You drive home through the wet streets. The city is waking up around you. The storm has passed. Everything looks clean and fresh and new. You'll sleep through the day. And when night falls again, you'll return. You'll unlock the door to the chiming bell. You'll count the cash drawer and brew the first pot of coffee. You'll mop the floors and check the bathrooms and process tickets and watch trains arrive and depart. You'll maintain this small station through the quiet hours. And if doors lock themselves, if figures appear in the mist, if storms rage and mysteries unfold, well, you'll handle that too. Because the night shift at Pinewood Station is yours. And the station, in its own strange way, takes care of its own. The Night Shift at Pinewood Station, Part 4. You wake at 8 p.m. to silence. No rain, no wind, just the profound quiet of a world washed clean. You lie in bed for a moment, your hand finding the brass button on your nightstand where you placed it this morning. The metal is cool against your palm. You think about last night. The door that locked. The key that wouldn't fit. Morgan's cryptic comment about the station taking care of its own. You shower and dress, going through the familiar motions. Turkey and Swiss on wheat. Thermos filled with water. Keys, wallet, phone. The brass button goes back in your pocket. It's become a habit already, carrying it with you. By 9:30, you're driving the familiar route. The roads are still wet from yesterday's storm, but the sky is clear. Stars are visible overhead, more than usual, the air scrubbed clean by all that rain. You pass the grain silo, the defunct gas station, the turnoff to Highway 7. You arrive at 9:55. Morgan's car is there. You park and walk to the entrance, and you find yourself looking at the door, really looking at it, in a way you haven't before. It's just a door, glass and metal, and a lock that's probably as old as the building itself. The bell chimes as you enter. Evening, Morgan says. She's counting the cash drawer, her movements practiced and efficient. Nice night after yesterday's chaos. Yeah. You hang up your jacket. Everything quiet. Completely. Almost too quiet, if you know what I mean. She finishes counting and notes it in the logbook. Oh, one thing. Dispatch called about an hour ago. They're doing track maintenance tomorrow night, so the 3:30 will be running 20 minutes early. 3:10 instead. Got it. Morgan gathers her things. She pauses at the door, her hand on the handle. You know, I've been thinking about what happened last night. With the door. Your heart skips. What about it? My grandmother told me something once. She said on certain nights, stormy nights especially, the station gets protective, like it knows when someone needs help, and it adjusts things. She laughs self-consciously. Sounds crazy, right? What kind of adjustments? Doors that won't open when they should stay closed. Doors that won't close when someone needs to get in. Lights that stay on when the power should be out. Small things. Helpful things. She meets your eyes. She said if you work here long enough, you learn to trust it. Before you can respond, she pushes through the door. The bell chimes. Her car starts, and she's gone. And the station is yours. You stand there for a moment, processing her words. Then you shake your head and begin your routine. Count the cash drawer. Morgan already did it, but you do it again. Everything balances. Note it in the logbook. 10:15 p.m. You pour your first coffee. The machine has already been brewing. Morgan must have started a fresh pot just before she left. The aroma fills the station. You add sugar, stir slowly, take that first bitter sip. You walk the waiting area. Everything is immaculate. Morgan always leaves it perfect. The floor is dry tonight. No rain, no puddles, no endless mopping. The benches are clean. The newspapers are stacked. The departure board shows tonight's schedule. You notice something on the counter. A small frame you haven't seen before. Inside is a black and white photograph, the same one from the history book, the station staff from 1962. Conductor Thomas Mills on the far left in his brass-buttoned uniform. There's a note beside it in Morgan's handwriting. Thought this belonged out here. M. You pick up the frame and study the photograph. 6 people who worked here 63 years ago. How many of them had strange nights? How many of them learned to trust the station, as Morgan's grandmother had? You place the frame back on the counter, positioning it carefully. At 10:30, you decide to do a thorough cleaning of the windows. They're still streaked from yesterday's rain. You spray glass cleaner and wipe in long strokes. Through the clear glass, you can see the platform, the tracks, the woods beyond. Everything looks normal, peaceful. The first traveller arrives at 11:15. An older woman with a small suitcase. She buys a ticket to Central City and sits quietly, reading a paperback book. You return to your tasks. The bathroom needs attention. You mop the floor, refill the soap, replace the paper towels. The work is meditative, familiar. Your hands know what to do without thinking. The 11:47 arrives exactly on time. The woman boards with a polite nod. The train departs. Silence settles back over the station. At midnight, you eat your sandwich at the counter. Turkey and Swiss on wheat. You eat slowly, looking at the photograph of the 1962 staff. You wonder what their nights were like, whether they worked alone or in pairs, whether they saw things they couldn't explain. The brass button in your pocket feels warm. You pull it out and hold it next to the photograph. Same design, same embossing. This button came from Conductor Mills' uniform. You're certain of it. You're putting the button back in your pocket when you hear it. Music. Faint, distant, but unmistakable. Big band music. The kind that would have played in the 1940s or 50s. You freeze, listening. It's coming from somewhere in the station, not from outside. The sound is too contained, too interior. You stand and follow the sound. It leads you down the hallway toward the storage room. The music gets slightly louder as you approach, though it's still faint, like it's playing through walls or from very far away. You open the storage room door. The music stops immediately. The storage room is exactly as you left it 2 nights ago. Organized, neat, every box in its place. The overhead bulb flickers on when you pull the chain. Nothing unusual. Nothing that could produce music. You stand there for a long moment, listening. Silence. Just the hum of the fluorescent light above you. You're about to leave when you notice something. One of the boxes on the top shelf is slightly askew. Not much, just enough that it's not perfectly aligned with the others. You grab the step stool and climb up to adjust it. As you reach for the box, you see writing on the side, Station Records, 1955 to 1965. Curious. You pull the box down and carry it to the counter. Inside are old logbooks, schedules, maintenance records. And at the bottom, a transistor radio. You lift it out carefully. It's old, 1950s design, the kind with a leather carrying case and a round dial. You turn it over in your hands. There's an inscription on the back in faded engraving, TM, for the quiet nights. TM Thomas Mills. Your hand is shaking slightly as you turn the dial. Static hisses from the small speaker. You adjust it, searching for a signal. And there it is. Big band music, playing on some AM station that still broadcasts the old standards. This is what you heard. This radio, somehow turning itself on in a closed box in the storage room. You turn the volume down low and set it on the counter next to the photograph. The music plays softly. Glenn Miller, maybe, or Tommy Dorsey. The sound is tinny through the old speaker, but there's something comforting about it. You return to the storage room and look through the rest of the box. Logbooks filled with handwriting in various styles. You find entries from Thomas Mills. His handwriting is neat and precise, with a slight forward slant. October 15th, 1961. Quiet night. 2 passengers for the 3:30. Fixed the squeak in the bathroom door. Radio keeps me company. November 3rd, 1961. First snow of the season. Beautiful on the platform. No passengers until the 5:45. Made extra coffee. December 22nd, 1961. Busy night before the holiday. Helped a family with luggage. The station feels alive on nights like this. You flip through more pages. His entries are always brief, always professional, but there's warmth in them. He cared about this place, about doing the job well. You find the last entry in his handwriting. April 8th, 1963. Chest pains tonight. Called dispatch, but said I'd finish my shift. The station is in good hands after me. It always takes care of its own. That was the night he died. Right here at this station, finishing his shift despite chest pains. You close the logbook carefully. The music continues to play softly from his radio. At 12:45, a young couple arrives. They're laughing about something, relaxed and happy. You process their tickets to Riverside. They're heading to a late-night concert, they explain. You wish them a good time. They wait on a bench, holding hands, occasionally glancing at the old radio on the counter. Cool radio, the young man says. Does it work? It does, you say. It belonged to someone who used to work here. Nice that you keep it out. Like a piece of history. They board the 1:15 when it arrives. You watch them through the window, still holding hands as they find their seats. Alone again, you look at the radio. You should probably put it back in the box. It's a piece of station history. It belongs in storage, not on the counter. But you leave it where it is. The music plays on. At 1:30, you do your exterior check. The night is cool and clear, the air still fresh from yesterday's rain. You walk the length of the platform, checking everything. The ticket kiosks are functioning. The benches are dry. The trash bins are nearly empty. You stand at the edge of the platform and look down the tracks. They stretch into darkness in both directions, silver ribbons under the starlight. A freight train passes, not a scheduled stop, just rumbling through. You watch its lights approach, the rhythmic clacking of its wheels, the low horn as it crosses the distant road. It blasts past the platform, creating a wall of sound and wind. Then it's gone, fading into the distance. The silence afterward feels profound. You return inside and lock the door. The radio is still playing, a new song now, something slower. A vocalist croons about moonlight and romance. You pour another coffee and settle behind the counter with the 1962 logbook. You read more of Thomas Mill's entries. Small observations about weather, about passengers, about the rhythm of the night shift. January 10th, 1962. Young woman missed her train. Very upset. Made her coffee and helped her call her family. She thanked me. Sometimes this job is about the small kindnesses. March 3rd, 1962. Storm knocked out power. Emergency lights worked perfectly. Reminded me why we maintain things so carefully. You never know when you'll need them. July 19th, 1962. Too hot to sleep during the day. Came in tired. Coffee helped. The station was cool and quiet. Felt like a sanctuary from the heat. You're struck by how similar his experiences were to yours. The same station, the same shift, separated by 6 decades. But the work is the same. The purpose is the same. At 2:30, the phone rings. You pick it up on the second ring. Pinewood Station. It's dispatch. Just a routine check-in. Everything normal? The 3:30 running early tomorrow. Do you have that noted? Yes, all noted. Everything's quiet here. Good. Stay warm. Cold front's supposed to move in around 4. You hang up and make a note about the cold front. You adjust the thermostat slightly, anticipating the temperature drop. The radio starts playing a song you recognize, In the Mood by Glenn Miller. Your grandmother used to play this. You find yourself tapping your foot to the rhythm. At 3 a.m., you're wiping down the coffee station when the radio cuts out abruptly. Not static, just silence. The kind of silence that feels intentional. You look at it. The dial is still lit, still tuned to the same station. But no sound is coming out. You walk over and adjust the dial. Nothing. You check the batteries. They're fine. You tap it gently. Still nothing. And then you hear footsteps on the platform. Your body tenses. You move to the window and look out. There's someone standing on the platform. A tall figure in what looks like a uniform, standing in exactly the spot where you saw the figure in the fog. But this time, the night is perfectly clear. No fog, no rain, no storms to blame for tricks of light. You grab your flashlight and keys. Your hand finds the brass button in your pocket. You squeeze it once, like a talisman. You push through the door. The bell chimes. The night air is cold. The front is moving in early. Hello. Your voice carries across the empty platform. Sir. The figure doesn't move. You walk closer, your flashlight beam steady. As you approach, details emerge. It's the conductor's uniform from the photograph. Brass buttons gleaming in your flashlight. A cap. A watch chain. 10 feet away now. Sir, can you hear me? 5 feet. You're close enough to see his face now. An older man, maybe 60. Kind eyes. A slight smile. He looks exactly like Thomas Mills from the photograph. You stop walking. Your heart is pounding, But you're not afraid. Not exactly. This doesn't feel threatening. It feels significant. Like a moment you're meant to pay attention to. Mr. Mills. Your voice is barely a whisper. The figure tilts his head slightly, as if listening. Then he raises one hand and points. Not at you. Past you, toward the station. You turn to look. Through the window, you can see the waiting area. Everything looks normal. The lights, the benches, the counter. No, not everything. There's smoke. Thin, wispy smoke curling up from somewhere behind the counter. Your breath catches. Fire. You sprint back to the entrance. Burst through the door. The bell chimes frantically. The smoke is coming from the coffee maker. Something's wrong with the wiring. You can smell it now, that acrid electrical smell. The pot itself is starting to melt, plastic drooping and blackening. You yank the plug from the wall. The smell intensifies for a moment, then begins to dissipate. You grab the fire extinguisher from the wall, but the immediate danger has passed. No flames, just the melted plastic and burned wiring. Your hands are shaking as you set down the extinguisher. If that had continued, if you hadn't noticed, the coffee maker could have caught fire. And in a building this old, with this much wood. You turn back to the window. The platform is empty. No conductor in a brass-buttoned uniform. No Thomas Mills. But you know what you saw. And you know what it meant. You call dispatch and report the coffee maker malfunction. They'll send someone to replace it in the morning. In the meantime, no coffee service. You make a note in the logbook. Then you add something else. Malfunction discovered during routine exterior check. No injuries. No damage beyond coffee maker. Not quite the whole truth. But how do you write, warned by the ghost of a conductor who died in 1963, in an official log? You walk back outside. The platform is still empty, but you stand where the figure stood and look toward the station. From this angle, you can see directly behind the counter, directly at where the coffee maker sits. Perfect sight line. Like he positioned himself specifically so you would turn and look and see the problem. "Thank you," you say to the empty air. "Mr. Mills." "Thank you." The wind picks up slightly, the cold front arriving. For just a moment, you could swear you smell something. Not smoke, not rain, not the usual station smells. Pipe tobacco. Faint but distinct. The kind they smoked in the 1960s. Then it's gone. You return inside. The radio on the counter suddenly crackles back to life, mid-song, as if it had never stopped. You stand there listening to the music, processing what just happened. "The station takes care of its own," Morgan said. Her grandmother said. And maybe Thomas Mills still does too, in his own way. At 3:30, no passengers arrive for the train. The 3:30, which tomorrow will be the 3:10, arrives empty and leaves empty. Just the routine of it, the schedule, the rhythm of trains in the night. You spend the next hour cleaning up the coffee maker situation, unplugging everything, ventilating the area, making sure there's no lingering danger. The work gives you time to think. How many other workers has Thomas Mills warned over the years? How many small disasters has he prevented? How many people has he watched over from whatever place he occupies now? At 4:30, you hear a car in the parking lot. Not a traveler's car. You can tell by the sound. A minute later, someone knocks on the door. You open it to find a man in a maintenance uniform. "Dispatch sent me about the coffee maker. Figured I'd come now rather than wait till morning." That was fast. I was working on signals up the line. Not far from here. He comes in and examines the coffee maker, whistling low. You caught this just in time. Another 10 minutes, and you'd have had a real fire. I know. Lucky you spotted it. Yeah, you say. Lucky. He works efficiently, removing the old machine and installing a new one. Within 30 minutes, you have a functioning coffee maker again. He tests it thoroughly before packing up. All set. This model has better safety features. Shouldn't have any problems. You thank him, and he heads back out into the cold night. You brew a fresh pot of coffee, the first from the new machine. It smells good, normal, safe. At 5 a.m., you start preparing for the day shift. Count the cash drawer one more time. Update the logbook. You write about the coffee maker replacement, the maintenance worker's quick response, the cold front moving in. You look at the photograph on the counter. Thomas Mills stares out from 1962, forever captured in that moment, forever part of this station. You pick up his radio. The music is still playing, something instrumental now, a melody you don't recognize, but that sounds like home anyway. You carry the radio back to the storage room and place it carefully in the box with the logbooks. But you keep the box on a lower shelf now. Easier to access. Just in case. The 5:45 arrives on schedule. 3 passengers board, early commuters starting their day as you end yours. Morgan arrives at 5:55. She takes one look at your face and knows something happened. Coffee maker caught fire, you say before she can ask. Well, almost. Electrical problem. Maintenance already replaced it. Are you okay? Fine. I caught it early. She studies you. How did you notice? Those electrical fires usually start pretty subtle. You think about the figure on the platform, the pointed finger, the perfect sight line to the problem. Just lucky, I guess. Morgan glances at the photograph on the counter, then back at you. A small smile touches her lips. Right. Lucky. She doesn't press further. Maybe she knows. Maybe her grandmother told her stories about more than just protective doors. You gather your things. Your empty thermos. Your keys. Your hand finds the brass button in your pocket one more time. Morgan, you say at the door. That photograph. Thanks for putting it out. It seemed right, she says. Like he should be visible. Acknowledged. Yeah. It is right. You step outside into the cold pre-dawn. The temperature has dropped significantly. The cold front is here. Your breath makes clouds in the air. You drive home through streets just beginning to wake. The sky lightens from black to deep blue to pale grey. Another night completed. Another shift survived. But as you drive, you think about what survived means now. You didn't just survive the night on your own. You had help. From a conductor who's been dead for over 60 years, but who apparently still watches over this station and the people who work here. You'll sleep through the day. And when night falls, you'll return. You'll unlock the door to the chiming bell. You'll count the cash drawer and brew coffee in a new, safer machine. You'll mop floors and process tickets and watch trains arrive and depart. And if you see a figure in a conductor's uniform standing on the platform, you won't be afraid. You'll listen to what he has to show you, because the night shift at Pinewood Station is yours. But you're not alone in keeping watch. You've never been alone. The Night Shift at Pinewood Station, Part 5. You wake at 8 p.m. to your phone buzzing. A text from Morgan. Dispatch says we might see aurora tonight. Solar storm. Check the northern sky if it's clear. You sit up in bed, surprised. Aurora this far south is rare, but not impossible during strong solar storms. You check the weather. Clear skies predicted all night. Cold but clear. You go through your routine with a sense of anticipation. Shower, dress, make your sandwich. The brass button goes in your pocket as always. You've stopped questioning why you carry it. It just feels necessary now, like your keys or your phone. By 9:30, you're in your car. The sky is clear and dark, stars brilliant in the cold air. You can't see any aurora yet, but it's still early. They usually peak in the small hours of the morning. You arrive at 9:55. Morgan's car is there, and when you enter, she's standing at the window looking north. "Anything yet?" you ask. "Not yet. But I keep checking." She turns to you, excited. "I've never seen aurora from here." "Have you?" "Once. About 2 years ago. Just a faint green glow on the horizon. Nothing spectacular." "Well, tonight might be different. Dispatch said it's a strong storm." She grabs her coat. "Everything's ready." "Oh, and the new coffee maker is working great. Much better than the old one." "Good." She pauses at the door. "You know, I've been thinking about what happened last night. With the fire. What about it? My grandmother used to say Thomas Mills was the best conductor this station ever had. Died at his post rather than leave early. She said he loved this place too much to ever really leave it. Morgan meets your eyes. I think he's still here, watching over things. Over us. You believe that? Don't you? You think about the figure on the platform, the pointed finger, the pipe tobacco smell. Yeah, you say. I do. Morgan smiles. Good. Then you're not crazy. Or we both are. She pushes through the door. The bell chimes. Enjoy the aurora if it shows up. And the station is yours. You stand at the window for a moment, looking north. The sky is clear and dark and full of stars. No aurora yet. But the night is young. You begin your ritual. Count the cash drawer. Note it in the logbook. You add a line, clear night. Possible aurora activity expected. 10:15 p.m. You pour your first coffee from the new machine. It tastes the same as the old one, bitter and strong and perfect. You add sugar, stir, sip slowly. You walk the waiting area. Everything is in order. The floor is clean and dry. The benches are arranged perfectly. The photograph of the 1962 staff sits on the counter. Thomas Mills forever young in his brass-buttoned uniform. You find yourself looking at the photo more carefully tonight. The other 5 people in it. What were their names? What were their stories? Did they have strange nights too? Did they see things they couldn't explain? You make a mental note to go through those old logbooks again. Maybe their entries will tell you something. At 10:30, you step outside to check the northern sky. The cold hits you immediately. The temperature has dropped even further. Your breath makes thick clouds in the air. You look north. Still nothing. Just stars and darkness. But it's beautiful anyway. The platform is quiet, the tracks gleaming faintly under the security lights. Beyond them, the woods stand dark and still. Everything feels suspended, waiting. You return inside and tackle the bathroom. Mop the floor, refill supplies, check that everything functions properly. The work is meditative, familiar. Your hands know the motions. The first traveller arrives at 11:20. A middle-aged man in a business suit, typing on his phone. He buys a ticket to Central City without looking up from his screen. You process it efficiently. He sits on a bench, still typing. At 11:30, you check the northern sky again. Still nothing. Maybe the aurora won't show after all. Solar storms are unpredictable. The 11:47 arrives on time. The businessman boards, still focused on his phone. The train departs. Silence returns. You're wiping down the counters when you notice it. The lights in the station are flickering. Not dramatically, just a slight, rhythmic pulse. Like the electrical system is responding to something. The solar storm. It must be affecting the power grid. You check the breaker box in the storage room. Everything looks normal. The flickering continues. Subtle, easy to miss if you're not paying attention. You call dispatch. Pinewood Station. I'm seeing some light flickering. Probably from the solar storm. Should I be concerned? They've been getting calls about it from multiple stations. It's normal during solar events. As long as the lights don't go out completely, everything should be fine. They'll monitor it. You hang up and return to the waiting area. The flickering continues, a gentle pulse like a heartbeat. At midnight, you eat your sandwich at the counter. Turkey and Swiss on wheat. You eat slowly, watching the lights pulse, watching the northern sky through the window. And then you see it. A faint green glow on the horizon. Barely visible, but there. The aurora. You set down your sandwich and move to the window. The glow is strengthening, spreading upward from the horizon. Green at first, then hints of pink, then purple. You've never seen it like this. 2 years ago, it was just a glow. This is different. This is dancing curtains of light, rippling across the northern sky like cosmic flags in an invisible wind. You grab your jacket and step outside. The cold is forgotten. You stand on the platform, head tilted back, watching the sky transform. The aurora sweeps overhead in waves, green and pink and purple and white. It pulses in time with something you can't hear, some cosmic rhythm beyond human perception. The lights in the station pulse with it. You can see it through the windows, the fluorescent lights brightening and dimming in sync with the aurora, like the station is responding to it, participating in it. You walk to the edge of the platform and look up. The aurora fills half the sky now, brilliant and otherworldly. You've seen pictures, but pictures can't capture this. The movement, the colors, the sense of seeing something vast and ancient and completely indifferent to human concerns. You don't know how long you stand there. Time seems to slow, or stop, or become irrelevant. There's just you and the aurora and the cold night air. Then you hear it. The train whistle. The same one from the night of the fog. Distant, mournful, and wrong. You turn toward the sound. It's coming from the north, from up the tracks. But no train is scheduled. Not for hours. The whistle sounds again. Closer now. And then you see it. A light in the distance. Not the modern headlights of today's trains. Something older, dimmer, like the lamps they used on steam locomotives. You watch, transfixed, as the light grows brighter. You can hear the train now, not the smooth electric hum of modern trains, but the rhythmic chug of an older engine, the clack of wheels on rails, the hiss of steam. It's getting closer. You should be afraid. This doesn't make sense. But standing under the aurora, watching an impossible train approach, you feel only curiosity. The train emerges from the darkness. And it's not a modern train. It's old, 1950s old, maybe earlier. A steam locomotive pulling passenger cars with rounded roofs and windows that glow with warm yellow light. It's slowing down. It's going to stop at the platform. You stand frozen as the train pulls alongside. The brakes squeal. Steam hisses. And the train stops, perfectly aligned with the platform, as if it does this every night. Through the windows of the passenger cars, you can see people. Men in suits and hats. Women in dresses. All of them from another era. They're talking, reading newspapers, looking out the windows. Normal passengers on a normal train. Except this train doesn't exist. Can't exist. The door of the nearest car opens. No one gets out. It just stands open, waiting. An invitation. You take a step toward it. Then another. Your hand finds the brass button in your pocket. You squeeze it, and it feels warm. Warmer than it should be after being outside in the cold. You're at the edge of the platform now. The open door is right there. Inside, you can see the aisle between the seats. The vintage luggage racks. The passengers who don't seem to notice you. One more step and you'd be aboard. I wouldn't do that if I were you. You spin around. There's a man standing behind you on the platform. Tall, wearing a conductor's uniform. Brass buttons gleaming. A cap. A watch chain. Thomas Mills. But he's solid now. Real. Not translucent or ghostly. He looks as real as you do. Mr. Mills, you say. He smiles slightly. You can see it. I thought you might. What is it? The midnight train. Runs when the aurora is strong enough. It's special. He looks at the train with something like affection. Goes to places the regular trains don't reach. Where? Depends on who's asking. For some people, it's the past. For others, the future. For some. He shrugs. Somewhere else entirely. You look back at the open door. Could I? You could. But you shouldn't. Not yet. His voice is gentle but firm. You still have work to do here. People who need you. Shifts to complete. How long have you been watching over this station? Since I died. 62 years now. He says it matter-of-factly. Couldn't leave. Too much to do. Too many people to watch over. Like warning me about the coffee maker. That was a close one. You noticed just in time. He pauses. You're doing good work here. Better than you realize. This station needs people who care. People who pay attention. The aurora pulses overhead, brighter than before. The train's whistle sounds, not mournful now, but impatient. It has to go, Thomas says. Can't stay long. The aurora will fade soon. Will I see it again? Maybe. If you're here long enough. If the aurora is strong enough. He tips his cap. Take care of the station. It takes care of you. Wait. You have so many questions. But he's already fading, becoming translucent, becoming part of the aurora light itself. The train starts to move. The door closes smoothly. The locomotive's wheels turn, slowly at first, then faster. The passengers inside never look out. They're absorbed in their own journeys, wherever those journeys lead. You watch the train pull away, its light receding into the distance. The sound fades, the chug of the engine, the clack of wheels, the whistle, and then it's gone, swallowed by the night and the aurora. You stand alone on the platform, shaking, not from cold, from awe. The aurora continues to dance overhead, but you can see it starting to fade. The brilliant colors are becoming softer, more diffuse. The cosmic curtains are drawing closed. You check your phone. 12:47 a.m. You've been outside for 47 minutes. It felt like 5. You return to the station. The bell chimes, such a normal sound after what you just experienced. Inside, everything is ordinary. The lights have stopped flickering. The coffee maker gurgles. The clock ticks. You sit down at the counter, your legs suddenly weak. Did that really happen? The impossible train? Thomas Mills solid and speaking? The open door and the passengers from another time? Your hand goes to your pocket. The brass button is there. And it's still warm. That's real. That you can't deny. You pull out the logbook and stare at the blank line where you should note the events of 12 to 1 a.m. How do you write this? In the end you write 12 to 12:47 a.m. Observed aurora activity. Strong display. No incidents. True, if incomplete. At 1 a.m., a car pulls into the parking lot. 2 travelers enter, a young couple, both excited about the aurora they've been watching from their car. Did you see it? The woman asks. It was incredible. I saw it, you say. They buy tickets to Riverside and sit together, still talking enthusiastically about the lights. You process their tickets, make coffee for them, engage in normal conversation about an extraordinary event. They board the 1:15 when it arrives, a modern, ordinary train. The doors close. It departs. You're alone again. At 1:30, you do your exterior check. The aurora is almost gone now, just a faint glow on the northern horizon. The stars are brilliant in the cold, clear sky. You walk the length of the platform. Everything is normal. The tracks stretch into darkness in both directions. No impossible trains. No conductors from 1963. But when you reach the spot where the train stopped, where the door opened, you crouch down and look at the platform surface. There, barely visible in the dim light, are marks. Not fresh marks. Old marks, worn and faded. But they're there. Scuff marks where shoes stepped down from a train. Oil stains where a locomotive stopped. Residue of something that happened here long ago. Or something that happens here still, when the conditions are right. You stand and look north, toward where the train disappeared. Safe travels, you whisper to whoever might be listening. Wherever you're going. The wind picks up, cold and clean. For just a moment, you smell pipe tobacco. Then it's gone. You return inside and tackle your routine tasks with renewed focus. Mop the floor. Refill the napkins. Wipe down surfaces. The ordinary work of maintaining a station. But you do it with a new awareness. This isn't just a building. It's a threshold. A place where the boundaries between times and places grow thin. Where the past and present coexist. Where impossible trains can stop and offer passage to those ready to take it. At 2:30, the phone rings. Dispatch. Checking in. Everything normal? Everything's normal, you say. And it's true. This is normal for Pinewood Station. Strange, yes. Impossible, yes. But normal nonetheless. At 3 a.m., you brew fresh coffee and sit at the counter with the old logbooks. You find entries from other workers, other night shifts, scattered through the decades. June 12, 1958, saw strange lights in the sky. Green and pink. Beautiful. No passengers tonight. Just me and the lights. T.M. October 3, 1967. Northern Lights visible. Felt like the station was alive tonight. Hard to explain. J.R. August 15th, 1989, Aurora activity. Heard a train that wasn't on the schedule. Looked but saw nothing. Too much coffee maybe? S.W. They've all seen things. Felt things. Experienced the strangeness of this place. Some wrote about it obliquely. Some dismissed it. But the thread is there, running through decades of entries. You add your own note in the current logbook, on a page you'll rip out later so it doesn't become part of the official record. January 20th, 2026. Strong Aurora. Saw the midnight train. Spoke with TM. He's still watching over us. The station remembers everything. Takes care of its own. Night shift. You fold the page and slip it into your pocket with the brass button. At 3:30, no one arrives for the train. It comes and goes empty. Just the routine of it, the schedule, the reliability of modern rail service. You spend the next hour cleaning the storage room, organizing supplies, taking inventory. The physical work helps ground you after the surreal experience of the midnight train. At 4:30, you find another box in the storage room. This one is labeled Lost and Found 1960s. Inside are odds and ends left behind by passengers decades ago. An umbrella, a pair of glasses, a book with a bookmark still in it, a man's hat, and at the bottom, a photograph. Not an official one like the framed photo on the counter. A personal snapshot, slightly faded. It shows Thomas Mills standing on the platform, but he's not in uniform. He's in casual clothes, smiling at the camera, and next to him is a woman, pretty, laughing, her hand on his arm. On the back, in faded ink, Tom and Helen, June 1962. Helen. His wife, probably. Or girlfriend. Someone who mattered to him. You stare at the photo. Thomas Mills had a life outside this station. He had people he loved, places he went, dreams and hopes, and a future that was cut short at 53. But he chose to stay here anyway. After death, he could have gone anywhere, could have followed that midnight train to wherever it leads. But he stayed, to watch over the station, to protect the people who work here, to maintain the threshold. You place the photograph carefully back in the box. It feels too personal to display, but too important to discard. You put the box on the lower shelf, easily accessible, next to the box with his radio and logbooks. These are Thomas Mills' things, his legacy, his continued presence in this place. At 5 a.m., you start preparing for the day shift. Count the cash drawer. Update the logbook, the official one, with no mention of impossible trains or conversations with ghosts. The aurora is completely gone now. The sky is beginning to lighten in the east. Dawn is coming. You stand at the window and watch the transition from night to day. The stars fade. The darkness thins. The world takes on that peculiar pre-dawn quality where everything seems possible and nothing is quite real. The 5:45 arrives on schedule. 4 passengers board, early commuters, sleepy and clutching coffee cups. Normal people starting normal days. Morgan arrives at 5:55. She rushes in, breathless. Did you see it? The aurora? I went outside during my dinner, and it was incredible. I saw it, you say. Wasn't it amazing? I've never seen anything like it. She hangs up her coat, still excited. Dispatch said it was one of the strongest solar storms in years. It was special. She looks at you more carefully. Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. You almost laugh. I'm fine. Just tired. It was a busy night. Busy? The log says it was quiet. Quiet, then. But long. She accepts this and turns to her opening tasks. You gather your things slowly, reluctant to leave. The station feels different this morning, charged with meaning, like you're leaving something important behind. At the door, you pause and look back. The photograph of Thomas Mills on the counter. The new coffee maker he saved you from having to fight a fire over. The platform where an impossible train stopped and offered you passage. "Thank you," you say quietly. Morgan looks up. "What?" "Nothing. Just, thanks for the Aurora tip." "Oh, sure. I'm glad you got to see it." You step outside into the cold morning. The sun is rising, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The aurora's colors, but natural, predictable, safe. You drive home through streets coming alive with morning activity. People heading to work, to school, to their daily routines. Normal life, unaware of the extraordinary things that happen in quiet places when no one's watching. You think about the midnight train, about Thomas Mills' choice to stay, about thresholds and boundaries and the thin places where reality bends. You wonder if you'll see the train again, if you'll get another chance to board it, to see where it goes. And you wonder if, when your time comes, whether that's in 1 year or 10 or 50, you'll make the same choice Thomas made. To stay, to watch over this place, to become part of its long, strange history. You'll sleep through the day, and when night falls, you'll return. You'll unlock the door to the chiming bell. You'll count the cash drawer and brew coffee. You'll maintain the station through the quiet hours. And if the Aurora comes again, if the midnight train stops at your platform, you'll be ready. Not to board it. Not yet. But to witness it. To honor it. To understand that you work in a special place where the impossible sometimes becomes real. Because the night shift at Pinewood Station is yours. And you're part of something much larger than you ever imagined. The night shift at Pinewood Station. The finale. You wake at 8 p.m. to a feeling you can't quite name. Not dread, not excitement, something in between. A sense of significance, like tonight matters in a way the other nights haven't. You check your phone. No messages from Morgan. No weather alerts. No warnings about solar storms or track maintenance. Just an ordinary Friday night in January. But the feeling persists. You go through your routine more slowly than usual. Shower, letting the hot water run longer. Dress in your most comfortable clothes. Make your sandwich with extra care, turkey and Swiss on wheat, but today you add lettuce, tomato, a touch of mustard. Small changes that feel important. The brass button goes in your pocket. You hold it for a moment before putting it away, feeling its weight, its warmth. It's become a part of you now, this small piece of Thomas Mills' uniform. By 9:30, you're in your car. The drive is familiar, but you notice things you usually overlook. The way the grain silo looks against the night sky. The particular tilt of the defunct gas station's sign. The tree at the Highway 7 turnoff that's been there longer than the road itself. You're memorizing them. Why? You arrive at 9:55. Morgan's car is there, but when you enter the station, you stop in your tracks. The place is transformed. Not physically. Everything is in its usual spot. But there are details you've never noticed before. Or perhaps they were never there before. Small things. Fresh flowers in a vase on the counter. Where did those come from? The brass fixtures on the ticket window polished to a high shine. the floor gleaming as if it's been waxed, and music playing softly, not from Thomas Mills' old radio, but from somewhere else, nowhere, everywhere. Morgan is behind the counter, and when she turns to you, there's something in her expression. Knowledge, understanding, maybe even sadness. "Evening," she says quietly. "What's going on?" I'm not entirely sure. But the station feels different tonight, doesn't it? You nod. "Since I woke up. Like something's coming." Morgan moves around the counter and stands by the window, looking out at the platform. "My grandmother told me about nights like this. She said they happen once every few years, maybe once a decade. Nights when the station decides things." Decides what? Who stays? Who goes? Who's ready? She turns to you. "I think tonight might be one of those nights." Your hand finds the brass button in your pocket. "Morgan, what exactly did your grandmother do here?" "She was night shift. For 30 years. 1958 to 1988. Morgan smiles slightly. "She saw things. The midnight train. The conductor who died in 1963. Other things she never fully explained. And then one night, she said it was time to go. She trained me, and she left. I've always wondered if she knew something I didn't. Where is she now?" "She died 5 years ago. Peaceful. In her sleep." Morgan pauses. "But sometimes I think I see her. Just for a moment. Standing on the platform, watching." The bell chimes as the door opens. But no one enters. Just the wind, carrying the scent of something you can't identify. Not quite flowers, not quite rain. Something timeless. Morgan gathers her things. Cash drawers balanced. Coffee's fresh. Everything's ready. She pauses at the door. "Whatever happens tonight, trust the station. Trust yourself. And if you see Thomas, tell him Helen says hello." "Helen." "His wife. She's my grandmother." Before you can respond, she's gone. The bell chimes. Her car starts and pulls away. And you understand. Helen Mills, Thomas's wife, worked here for 30 years after he died, keeping watch over the place he'd loved, the place where he'd chosen to stay. And when her time came, she'd trained Morgan. 3 generations connected to this station, to this threshold, to this impossible, beautiful place. And now it's your turn. The station is yours. You stand in the center of the waiting area, feeling the weight of this moment. Then you begin your ritual, but everything feels heightened, significant. Each action is a ceremony. Count the cash drawer. The bills slide through your fingers like silk. The coins chime like bells. Everything balances perfectly. Note it in the logbook. Your handwriting is steady and clear. You write the date, January 21st, 2026, and pause. Something makes you flip through the old entries, looking for patterns. January 21st, 1963. Thomas Mills' last entry before he died. Quiet night. Everything in order. The station feels alive tonight. Like it's waiting for something. I'm ready for whatever comes. January 21st, 1988. Helen Mills' last entry. Pass the torch to my granddaughter tonight. The station approved. I can feel it. Time to rest. January 21st, 2026. Your entry. Beginning night shift. The station feels different. Significant. I'm paying attention. Every 38 years. The same date. A changing of the guard. But what does it mean for you? 10:15 p.m. You pour your first coffee. The liquid is darker than usual, richer. You add sugar, 1 spoonful, 2, and the crystals dissolve like stars falling into a black sky. You walk the waiting area. The flowers on the counter are real, white roses, fresh and perfect. You lean close and breathe in their scent. They smell like memory, like time, like all the people who've ever passed through this station. The photograph of the 1962 staff catches your eye. You pick it up and look at it closely. Thomas Mills on the left. And there, third from the right, a young woman with dark hair and a bright smile. Helen. You'd never paid attention to the others in the photo, always focusing on Thomas. But they were all here, all part of this place, all connected. At 10:30, you step outside. The night is clear and cold, but not as cold as recent nights. The air feels expectant, like the moment before a storm, but the sky is cloudless. You walk to the edge of the platform and look at the tracks. They gleam in the security lights, stretching into darkness. How many trains have run on these rails? How many passengers have stood where you're standing, waiting to go somewhere new? A sound makes you turn. The door to the station has opened, though you know you left it closed. Through the doorway, you can see the waiting area, warm and lit and welcoming. And standing just inside, barely visible, is a figure, tall, in a conductor's uniform. Thomas Mills. You walk back to the entrance. He's more solid tonight than you've ever seen him, almost completely real. And standing beside him is a woman, Helen, younger than she'd been in her 80s, about the age she was in the photograph. Mr. Mills, you say. Mrs. Mills. Thomas smiles. Just Thomas. And this is Helen. You've been doing good work here. Thank you for the warning. About the coffee maker. You would have noticed anyway. You pay attention. That's important. He glances at Helen, and something passes between them. We asked the station to bring you here. 3 years ago. We'd been watching, waiting for the right person. Watching? From where? From here. From there. Helen gestures vaguely. Time is different for us. We're here, but we're also somewhere else. The midnight train took us there, but we chose to keep one foot here, to watch over this place. Tonight is special, Thomas says. A threshold night. The station opens fully, all its doors, all its possibilities. And it asks a question. What question? Whether you want to stay, Helen says gently. Not just for tonight, or this year, or the next few years. Whether you want to become part of this place the way we did. A guardian. A keeper of the threshold. Your heart pounds. What does that mean? It means continuing to work the night shift, Thomas explains. For as long as you choose. Years, decades, however long feels right. And then, when your time comes, whether that's tomorrow or 50 years from now, you don't leave completely. You become like us, part of the station itself, watching over those who come after. Why me? Because you see, Helen says simply. You notice the small things. You care about doing the work well. And you're not afraid of the strange things. You accept them, adapt to them. That's rare. Thomas checks his watch, the one on the chain you've seen in the photographs. The first test will come soon. A traveller who needs help. If you choose to stay, you'll know what to do. And if I choose not to stay, then you finish tonight's shift, and tomorrow you turn in your resignation, Helen says. No judgment, no punishment. The station will find someone else, eventually. It always does. How do I decide? They both smile at that. You already have, Thomas says. Deep down. Tonight will just confirm it. They begin to fade, becoming translucent. The music in the station swells slightly. You realize it's been playing all along, but you'd stopped noticing it. One more thing, Helen says as she fades. The flowers on the counter. Those are from me. White roses were my favorite. Thomas brought them to the station every week when he was alive. After he died, I brought them. And after I moved on, Morgan brought them. Tonight felt like a night for white roses. Thank you, you whisper. They're gone. But the station feels fuller, not emptier. Like their presence has soaked into the walls, the floor, the very air. The bell chimes. An actual traveller this time. A woman enters, and you know immediately this is the test. She's elderly, maybe 80, and she's crying. Not sobbing, just quiet tears running down her lined face. Can I help you? You ask gently. I need. She stops, composes herself. I need a ticket to Morton Falls. For the 3:30 train. You process her ticket. Your hands are steady. That's a few hours from now. Would you like some coffee while you wait? No, thank you. I just need to. She trails off, sitting heavily on a bench. You should return to your work. But something tells you this woman needs more than a ticket. You come around the counter and sit on the bench across from her. Are you okay? My husband, she says quietly. He died 6 months ago. We used to take the train to Morton Falls every year on our anniversary. Stay at the same little bed and breakfast. Walk the same streets. Eat at the same restaurant. She wipes her eyes. I couldn't face it when our anniversary came around in July. But tonight I woke up and I knew I had to go. One last time. To say goodbye properly. You sit with her in silence for a moment. Then you say, what was his name? Robert. We were married 53 years. She smiles through her tears. He proposed to me on the platform here, right outside those windows. We'd taken the train to the city for a concert, and on the way back, we stopped here for a connection. It was late at night, just like now, and he got down on one knee right there on the platform and asked me to marry him. That's beautiful. The conductor saw the whole thing. Older gentleman, very kind. He congratulated us, shook Robert's hand. She pauses. You know, I could swear I saw that same conductor once, years later, but he looked exactly the same. Never aged. I told Robert, and he laughed, said I was imagining things. Your skin prickles. Do you remember his name? Mills, I think. Thomas Mills. Of course. Thomas would have been working the night shift in the 1960s or early 70s, whenever this woman and Robert got engaged. He would have witnessed their beginning. Would you like to see the platform? You ask. Where he proposed? Her eyes light up. Could I? You walk her outside into the cold night. She moves slowly, but with purpose. You stand on the platform, and she looks around, remembering. There, she says, pointing to a spot near the bench. That's where he knelt. I was so surprised I almost dropped my purse. She laughs softly. The conductor, Mr. Mills, he picked it up for me, handed it back with a little bow, like we were in a movie. You can picture it perfectly. Thomas in his uniform, young and alive, witnessing a moment of joy on his platform. Would you like to be alone for a few minutes? You ask. No. Thank you, but no. I think. I think I've said what I needed to say. She looks at the spot where Robert proposed one more time. I'm ready now. You walk her back inside. She sits on the bench, calmer now, at peace. Over the next 2 hours, more travelers arrive. Each one has a story. A young man running away from a mistake he made, hoping to start over in Central City. A middle-aged woman going to Riverside to reconcile with her estranged sister. A teenage boy heading to the city for a college interview that could change his life. You help each of them, not just with tickets, but with a kind word, a listening ear, a moment of human connection in the small hours of the night. This is the work, you realize. Not just maintaining the building or processing tickets. It's being present for people in transition, being a steady point in their journeys, holding space for their hopes and fears and new beginnings. The 11:47 arrives. The young man and the woman board. The train departs. The elderly woman and the teenage boy remain, both waiting for later trains. At midnight, you eat your sandwich at the counter. Turkey and Swiss with lettuce, tomato, and mustard. You eat slowly, watching your 2 travelers. The woman has dozed off, her head tilted back against the bench. The boy is reading a book, occasionally glancing up nervously. You walk over to him. First time taking the train alone? He looks up, startled. Is it that obvious? Little bit. Where are you headed? University interview. My mom wanted to come with me, but I told her I could do it myself. Now I'm not so sure. He closes his book. What if I mess it up? You might, you say honestly, but you'll survive it. And you'll learn from it. That's what interviews are for, learning what you're capable of. You sound like my mom. Your mom sounds smart. He smiles. She is. You return to the counter, and he returns to his book, but he looks less nervous now. At 12:30, the phone rings. You pick it up, expecting dispatch. But the voice on the other end is unfamiliar. Old, crackling, like it's coming from far away. Pinewood Station? Yes, this is Pinewood Station. This is Central Dispatch. We have a situation. There's a passenger on the 1:15. Elderly gentleman, experiencing chest pains. Train's stopping at your station in 45 minutes. Ambulance is en route, but might not make it in time. Do you have first aid training? Basic training, yes. Good. We're counting on you. His name is James. He's in car 3. The line goes dead. You stand there, phone in hand, heart pounding. This is real. Someone's life might depend on what you do in the next hour. You grab the first aid kit from the storage room. Check its contents. Bandages, antiseptic, aspirin, a CPR mask. Not much, but it's what you have. You tell the elderly woman and the teenage boy what's happening. Both offer to help if needed. The woman mentions she was a nurse 40 years ago. The boy says he knows CPR from a class at school. In this moment, you're not alone. You're part of a community, however temporary, all waiting together in a train station in the middle of the night. The 1:15 arrives early, at 1:08. You're on the platform before it fully stops. The conductor, a woman you don't recognize, points you to car 3. You board and find James immediately. He's slumped in his seat, pale, sweating, clutching his chest. Another passenger is with him, looking terrified. I'm from the station, you say calmly. I have first aid training. What's your name, sir? James, he gasps. Hurts. Chest. Okay, James. I'm going to help you. You turn to the other passenger. Call 911 again. Make sure they know we're at Pinewood Station. You help James lie down across the seats. Loosen his collar. The elderly woman from the waiting room has followed you. She takes his pulse, professional and calm. Rapid but steady, she says. Could be angina. Could be a heart attack. Hard to tell. You give James aspirin from the first aid kit. Chew this. It might help. Time stretches. Minutes feel like hours. The teenage boy appears in the doorway. Ambulance is 3 minutes out. I can see the lights. 3 minutes. You keep James calm, talking to him, keeping him conscious. The elderly woman monitors his pulse. The boy runs back and forth with updates. And then the paramedics are there, professional and efficient. They take over, stabilizing James, loading him onto a stretcher. As they carry him past, James grabs your hand. "Thank you," he whispers. "You saved my life. The ambulance saved your life. No, you kept me calm. You kept me here." He squeezes your hand once, then lets go. The ambulance pulls away, lights flashing, siren wailing into the night. You stand on the platform, shaking. The conductor approaches. "That was good work. Real good work. I just did what anyone would do." "No, you did what someone who cares would do. There's a difference." She boards the train. "We're delayed, but we're moving on. Thank you." The 1:15 departs. You return to the station. The elderly woman and the teenage boy are there, both looking at you with something like awe. "You were amazing," the boy says. "We all were," you correct. "We helped together." At 1:45, a call comes from the hospital. James is stable. He's going to be okay. They wanted you to know. You hang up the phone and realize you're crying. Not from sadness, from relief, from exhaustion, from the weight of what just happened. The elderly woman pats your hand. "First time saving a life?" "Yes." It doesn't get easier, but it does get more meaningful. She stands as the 3:10 approaches, the 3:30 running early as scheduled. "Thank you for tonight, for the platform, for the memories, for being here." She boards the train. Through the window, you see her find a seat and settle in, looking peaceful. The train departs. Just you and the teenage boy now. His train isn't until 5:45. He falls asleep on the bench around 2 a.m., his book open on his chest. You cover him with a blanket from the storage room. Small kindness. That's what this job is. At 3 a.m., you're wiping down the counters when you sense a presence. You turn. Thomas and Helen are there, solid and real in the dim station light. "You passed," Helen says simply. "That was a test." "No," Thomas says. "That was real. James is real. His heart attack was real. But how you responded, that was the test. And you didn't hesitate. You stepped up. I was terrified." "Good," Helen says. "Fear means you understand the stakes. But you acted anyway. That's courage." Thomas walks to the window and looks out at the platform. This station has stood for 70 years. It'll stand for 70 more, probably longer. People will come and go. Some will just pass through. Others will stay, like we did. Like you might. "I don't understand what you're offering me," you say. "Not really." Helen joins Thomas at the window. "When we died, me in 1963, Helen in 2019, we could have moved on completely. gone wherever people go. But we loved this place. It had been our home, our purpose. So when the midnight train offered us passage, we accepted only partially. We stayed in the liminal space. Here but not here. Present but not physical. Until nights like tonight, when the barrier's thin. We've been watching over this station for decades, Thomas continues, making sure the right people find it, making sure it's cared for. And now we're offering you the same choice, but you get to make it while you're still alive. Stay, Helen says. Work the night shift, for as long as you want. And know that when your time comes, whenever that is, you can choose to remain, to become a guardian like us, to ensure this threshold is always tended. What if I fail, you ask? What if I'm not good enough? You already are, Thomas says. Tonight proved it. But it's not about being perfect. It's about showing up, night after night, being present, paying attention, caring. You look around the station, the white roses on the counter, the photograph of the 1962 staff, the old radio in the storage room, the logbooks filled with decades of careful entries, the platform where Robert proposed, where James was saved, where the midnight train sometimes stops. This place is alive, not just as a building, but as a living history, a threshold between past and present, here and there, ordinary and extraordinary. I'll stay, you say, for as long as I'm needed. Thomas smiles. Helen's eyes fill with tears, joy, not sadness. Then it's settled, Thomas says. Welcome, officially, to Pinewood Station. You're part of its history now, part of its future. One more thing, Helen adds. She reaches into a pocket that shouldn't exist in her translucent form and pulls out something. A small pin, brass, with an engraved train. This was Thomas's, then mine, now yours. Wear it when you work. It marks you as a guardian. You take the pin. It's warm, almost hot, and feels impossibly heavy for something so small. You attach it to your shirt, over your heart. The moment you do, the station shifts. Not physically, but your perception of it deepens. You can feel the weight of its history, the presence of everyone who's ever worked here or passed through. You can sense the threshold it represents, the thin place between worlds. And you can feel Thomas and Helen, truly feel them, not as ghosts but as colleagues. Fellow guardians. Family. There's one more thing we need to show you, Thomas says. Come outside. The three of you walk to the platform. The teenage boy sleeps on inside, undisturbed. Thomas points north. Watch. At first, you see nothing. Then, a light in the distance. Not the aurora. Something else. The midnight train. It approaches slowly, its old-fashioned headlamp cutting through the darkness. You hear the chug of its engine, the clack of its wheels, the lonely whistle. It pulls alongside the platform and stops. The same impossible train you saw during the aurora. The same warm light in the windows. The same passengers from another time. But tonight, when the door opens, someone steps out. A man in his 70s, wearing clothes from the 1980s. He looks around, disoriented, then sees Thomas and Helen. His face breaks into a smile. Tom. Helen. You're here. Hello, Robert, Helen says warmly. Robert. The man who proposed on this platform. The man who died 6 months ago, leaving his wife to make one last journey to Morton Falls. I've been riding this train for months, Robert says. Every night, trying to find my way back. To say goodbye to Grace properly. But I couldn't get off. Couldn't reach her. She was here tonight, you say. Your wife, Grace. She came to remember you, to say goodbye at the place you proposed. She was here. Robert's voice breaks. Tonight. She told me about your proposal, about Mr. Mills congratulating you both. She remembered everything. Robert turns to the train. Through the windows you can see Grace, young again, maybe 25, exactly as she looked when Robert proposed. She's sitting in a seat, smiling, waiting. That's not. Robert stares. How? The midnight train goes to many places, Helen explains gently. For some, it's the past. For Grace tonight, it took her to her memories. She had her goodbye, Robert. She's at peace. And now you can have yours. Come on, Thomas says. We'll ride with you. Make sure you find each other. Robert looks at you. Thank you. For being here tonight. For helping her. It was an honor, you say. Thomas and Helen begin to board the train. But Helen pauses and looks back at you. We'll still be here, she says. Not every night. But when you need us. When the station needs us. We're always watching. Thank you, you say. For everything. No, Thomas says. Thank you. For saying yes. For taking up the watch. They board with Robert. Through the window, you see him find Grace, the young version from his memories. They embrace, and even from outside, you can feel the love, the completion, the peace. The train begins to move. Slowly at first, then faster. The whistle sounds, not mournful now, but joyful, triumphant. You watch until the lights disappear into the darkness, until the sound fades completely, until there's nothing but the empty tracks and the starlight. You stand alone on the platform, but you don't feel alone. You feel connected, to Thomas and Helen, to all the guardians who came before, to all the travellers who will come after. You return inside. The bell chimes. The teenage boy stirs but doesn't wake. At 4 a.m. you brew fresh coffee. The new machine gurgles and hisses. The aroma fills the station. You pour yourself a cup and stand at the window, watching the sky begin to lighten. At 5:45, the teenage boy wakes. His train arrives. You wish him good luck with his interview. He thanks you for the blanket, for letting him sleep. You're going to do great, you tell him. Thanks. For everything. He boards the train, suddenly looking older, more confident. The train departs just as Morgan arrives. She enters and immediately notices the pin on your shirt. Her eyes widen. You accepted. I did. She smiles. Genuine joy. Good. The station chose well. She pauses. My grandmother came to me in a dream last night. She said to tell you that the white roses should be here every week. I'll make sure they are. Thank you. How was your night? You think about where to begin. The elderly woman and her memories. The teenage boy and his fears. James and his heart attack. Robert and Grace and the midnight train. Significant, you say finally. It was significant. Morgan nods like this makes perfect sense. Those are the nights that matter. The ones you'll remember forever. You gather your things slowly. The brass button in your pocket. The pin on your shirt. The weight of your decision settling over you like a comfortable coat. At the door, you pause and look back one more time. The station is just a building, wood and glass and metal. But it's also more than that. It's a threshold, a sanctuary, a place where the ordinary and extraordinary meet. And it's yours to watch over now. See you tonight, Morgan says. See you tonight. You step outside into the dawn. The sun is rising, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. The cold air is crisp and clean. The world is waking up. You drive home through familiar streets, but everything looks different now. Sharper, more vivid. Like a veil has been lifted and you're seeing reality more clearly. You'll sleep through the day. And when night falls, you'll return. You'll unlock the door to the chiming bell. You'll count the cash drawer and brew coffee. You'll wipe down counters and refill sugar packets and mop floors and process tickets. You'll help travelers find their way. You'll listen to their stories. You'll be present for their moments of transition. And on special nights, threshold nights, when the barrier's thin, you'll witness miracles. Impossible trains. Reunited lovers. Guardians who refuse to leave their posts. You'll become part of the station's long history, part of its continuing story. Because the night shift at Pinewood Station is yours now. Not just for tonight, or this year, or the next few years. For as long as you choose to stay. And even after that, if you want. Forever part of this threshold. This sanctuary. This impossible, beautiful, ordinary, extraordinary place. The night shift continues. The station endures. The trains run on time. And you are home. The story of Pinewood Station goes on. New travelers will come. New mysteries will unfold. New guardians will eventually be chosen. But for now, for this moment, for these quiet hours between sunset and dawn, the station is in your hands, and it knows it's safe, protected, loved. Rest well, guardian. Your watch has just begun. The end.